We will be going into our closed session. Ms. Egan. I know.
Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, I move that the Stafford County School Board convene a closed meeting to discuss or consider appointment of personnel pursuant to the personnel exemption at Section 2.2-3711A1 and legal matters pursuant to the legal exemption at Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are in closed session.
I will announce it very loudly.
Whereas the Stafford County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended, requires certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Stafford County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, can you poll the board, please?
Sears. Agreed. Segan.
Agreed.
Ms. Hazard.
Agree.
Ms. Healy. Agreed. Mr. Hirons.
Agree.
Ms. Kidby. Agree. Mr. McOsker.
Agree.
Your motion passed unanimously.
Are there any motions coming out of closed session?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for principal of Brook Point High School.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Dr. Benson.
Thank you.
We're
I really
excited.
like doing this part. So we congratulate the new principal of Brook Point High School this evening, Miss Tammy Hauk.
Stand up, Tammy.
Keep standing. I have some more to say. Ms. Hauk began her career as professional educator in Fairfax County. She taught English and coached varsity cheer at West Springfield and Lake Braddock secondary high schools. In 2000, Ms. Hauk brought her many talents to Stafford, beginning as an English teacher and principal intern at North Stafford. In 2005, Ms. Hauk became assistant principal and helped open Mountain View High School. Ms. Hauk is integral to the development of the annual school schedule and school improvement plan. She's a driver for professional development and models professional learning community strategies for building leaders. She has chaired and participated on advanced ed accreditation teams and presented to Virginia schools as an expert on block scheduling. Ms. Hauk earned a Bachelor of Arts with a concentration in English from James Madison University and a Master of Education with a concentration in Educational Leadership from George Mason University. We're excited to have you as principal at Brook Point.
Ms. Hauk, welcome to Brook Point, and I'm afraid you're probably going to have to Indian leg wrestle Mr. McClellan to get that head hawk handle for the Twitter account. There you go.
All right, do we have another motion coming out of closed session?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the position of Director of Food Services. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Benson.
Thank you. We welcome this evening Mr. Berkeley Dunbrack, and I'm not sure if he's with us this evening, or there he is. Good. Come on up a little bit so everybody can see you. We have to stand where everybody can see you, and then I'll read the rest of it. Mr. Dunbrack comes to us from the contractor Aramark Food Service, where he's currently serving as Food Service Director for Colonial Heights Public Schools and St. Bridget's School, Virginia. Having additional service with the Compass Group, a British multinational contract food service provider, Mr. Dunbrack is a results-oriented food services director with 15 years in the food industry, including service, food prep, executive chef, kitchen manager, assistant general manager, single unit and multi-unit management. He's had substantial experience in mentoring new employees and creating a cooperative, efficient work environment. Mr. Dunbrack is SafeServe and Northern Virginia Food Safety Management certified. He's a graduate of Longwood University. Welcome aboard.
And do we have another motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I am pleased to recommend the board support the recommendation for Director of Strategic Communication and Community Engagement.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Benson.
And I think Ms. Johnson is not here because she has a board meeting in another division she has to attend tonight, but we're thinking that will be short-lived. I have the privilege this evening of announcing the appointment of Ms. Cherie Johnson to the position of Director of Strategic Communication and Community Engagement. Ms. Johnson is the Acting Chief Communications Officer for Prince George's County Public Schools, Maryland. She supervises the Communications Department, including the Public Information Office, Web Services, Publication, Television Services, Media, and Outreach and Engagement. She has previously served as Public Information Officer for Harford County, Maryland. She has been a freelance producer and reporter for Fox News and WTTG-TV, and a news reporter and anchor for WMAR-TV Baltimore. She is a recipient of 2 Emmys and an NAACP Freedom Fighter Service Award. Ms. Johnson has served as an instructor at Towson University and Baltimore Community College. She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism and mass communication at the University of North Carolina and a Master of Arts in Communication from Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, Maryland. We welcome Ms. Johnson to the position of Director of Strategic Communication and Community Engagement.
At this time, I would ask for everybody to rise, and we will have a moment of silence. Certainly, I pray that we will keep in mind during our moment of silence the tragedy in Orlando. I would ask that we would observe this moment of silence, and then, Mr. McCosker, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the hard copy agenda?
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and our agenda is approved. Again, we are all working off of paper copies this evening. Next, we will be moving on to our awards. Mr. Heron, I'm going to go out of order, if you don't mind, if I let Mr. Mr. Martin go first. I'd like to recognize Greg Martin, Safety, Security, and Risk Management Specialist, for the presentation of awards.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Benson. My first presentation tonight is with Virginia Municipal League, VML. It is my pleasure to introduce VML Insurance Company, who are here tonight to represent an award to Stafford County Public Schools, in particular our own Mrs. Annette Hall. During our years of working with VML for property, casualty, liability, and workman's compensation insurance, We've been involved in almost every type of liability issue that arises during the course of a school year. We've become a great team, and together we have made our working environment safer for all our employees. In addition to the Department of Safety and Security and Risk Management, has become the envy of many other school divisions when it pertains to the development of safety programs and our continued pursuit of improving all aspects of OSHA, ADA, NFPA to assure safety first for all. During the FY 2014-15, Stafford County Public Schools saved approximately $134,548 by negotiating medical fees and received an additional $30,000 discount on our insurance premiums. This was accomplished by Stafford County Public Schools scoring 100% on all required risk programs. This year alone, the savings thus far is approximately $67,410, which is a remarkable accomplishment when the current growth, both in our community and within the school division. It is with great respect that I now introduce these outstanding individuals who are always there for us when we need them. Mrs. Bunny Slayton, Senior Claims Adjuster. Miss Wendy Rice, Senior Claims Adjuster. And Miss Robin Duval, Director of Workman's Compensation Claims. I think Robin's going to speak for a couple seconds.
Good evening. VML Insurance Programs presents this award to Annette Hall with Stafford County Public Schools for her tremendous dedication to risk management. It is dedicated individuals such as Annette that are the spark that initiate risk management culture within organizations and entities. As loss control manager for the schools, Annette has detailed school inspection process that includes report back and follow-up procedures. She organizes meetings with the school's administrators to review losses for their school and discuss preventative measures that will and have been taken. She ensures a thorough walkthrough process is done of each and every school in the system, including classrooms, mechanical rooms, playgrounds, storage rooms, cafeteria, auditoriums, and more. At each walkthrough, Annette ensures that hazards are documented and, when possible, fixed on the spot. She then provides each school with a detailed write-up for which they must respond. Additionally, Annette goes above the call of duty to help VML Insurance Programs with their investigation of claims by obtaining documentations, pictures, videos when available. Annette is the go-to person and the lady of safety. She's tremendous assistance to the VML Insurance Program staff. The inspection process that Annette has developed, along with her management of claims, has been effective for Stafford County Schools. Congratulations, Annette.
Congratulations.
My next presentation is to the Stafford County Sheriff's Office.
Is there a sheriff in the audience? Say again, sheriff. Oh, sheriff. I didn't see you there.
I welcome tonight Sheriff Decatur and Major Linhart. I'm here tonight to present a token of our appreciation to the men and women who serve the Stafford County Sheriff's Office. This small gesture from the Stafford County Public School Division is an appreciation and gratitude for their commitment to protecting our community and especially our schools. Our department and the school division never take for granted all their hard work and the support we receive on a regular basis. We not only receive excellent service from the SROs and the DARE officers, but from the traffic units, the patrols, administration, and the criminal investigative division as well. Under direct supervision of Sheriff Decatur, the men and women of the Sheriff's Office have provided many hours of their time to assist our department and the school division with bomb threats, weather calls, and many other investigations and criminal activity that keeps our students and staff safe. Take a breather. The school year was remarkably busy, and the Sheriff's Office was there for us every step of the way. It is with great pride, true admiration, and gratitude that we honor the Sheriff's Office tonight for the commitment and dedication in keeping the community and our students safe.
Madam Chairman and members of the board, Dr. Benson, thank you so very much on behalf of the men and women of the Stafford County Sheriff's Office. We truly appreciate the recognition, but more importantly, we truly appreciate the bond and partnership that we have with you, and we're going to continue our commitment to keeping the schools and the children safe, our students safe. We're going to continue to promote those positive relationships and promote those shared values that we all have. So thank you so much. God bless you.
And
I'm not gone yet. I still have one more to go.
Mr. Martin, if I could just say to
Yeah.
Sheriff Decatur and your staff, what a wonderful DARE Day was put on this year. It was perfect, and you did a great order on the weather as well. So,
Last but not least, the next award goes to the Fire Rescue and Emergency Services Department. Chief Lockhart? You might as well stand up with me here. I would also like to present a token of our appreciation to the Stafford County Fire Rescue and Emergency Services Division. We often forget the great work they do on a daily basis to keep our community and our schools safe. During the course of the school year, we constantly work with that department on fire safety issues, medical alerts, and medical calls to our schools, which on some days are frequent. Our department has an outstanding working relationship with all branches of that department, and this partnership has been crucial in establishing a safe working environment for our students, staff, and parents. This department assists us with bomb threats, chemical spills, fires, evacuations, and unannounced drills at our schools to ensure readiness during any type of emergency. Our biggest challenge is our cold, snowy winter months, where Department of Emergency Services works closely with the school division to provide the most accurate data on weather forecasts to determine school openings or closings. The 4:30 a.m. winter snow team conference call is always conducted by a cheerful group of 5, right? That are full of enthusiasm to determine the safest and wisest decision to keep our students and staff safe. Thank you, Chief Lockhart, to your entire staff for your assistance and hard work to the Stafford County Public Schools.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Benson, I would echo Sheriff Decatur's comments and just thank you for the recognition. I'm happy to accept this on behalf of the men and women of the Stafford County Fire and Rescue Department, and want to thank you for the collaborative effort that we've had in addressing the needs of the schools, as well as responding to the incidents at the schools. We've enjoyed a wonderful collaboration with Greg and Rick and members of your staff, and while I would not use the word enthusiastic during a 4:30 a.m. conference call, those calls are the epitome of how local government should operate, and that is a collaborative effort between the Sheriff's Office, Fire and Rescue, schools, and county government, and it is a blessing to work with you all and with the school division, and we thank you very much.
thank you. Mr. Haran.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, board members, Superintendent Benson. As many of you know, Stafford County Public Schools has developed and maintained a very strong and active recycling program throughout all levels of the school division since 2006. To ensure the program stays relevant, educates our students, and supports sound conservation practices, the division instituted several internal contests to promote recycling. Tonight, we'll recognize schools and individuals from those contests. But before I do that, I'd like to recognize two of our business partners who have been supporting the recycling program since its inception. GCA Custodial Services and Waste Management Refuse Services are both instrumental in providing superior support to the program. Both GCA and Waste Management have graciously sponsored the recycling contest with monetary support for award winners. Would our Stafford County Public Schools Supervisor of Custodial Services, Jesse Belinsky, and Mr. Reggie Adams from GCA please come down to assist in passing out these awards. The first contest, the 8th Annual Stafford County Public Schools Recycling Video Contest. The video contest is designed to educate students and staff on recycling and focus their creative skills on the issue through the use of video media. A winner was selected at each school level, each first place team winning $500. I'll announce the elementary school first, then the high school, and then the middle school last for a specific reason. The first place at the elementary school level is Falmouth Elementary School. Mrs. Smith's kindergarten class saves the ocean. Could Principal Sally John Akeen Putman please come down to accept the award on behalf of Mrs. Smith and her wonderful class? I know, I screwed that up. Sorry, Sally. Photo op. All right. At the high school level, first place, Mountain View High School in the Hall of the Recycling King. Could Principal Stemple and video tech teacher Eric Honecker and students Tanner Giveler, David McCabe, Nathan Mills, Justin Ashby, and Robert Williams please come forward. Each student will receive $100 out of the $500. All right, guys, spin around, we'll get a photo op.
Mr. H., I know it's even your birthday, but I won't have everybody sing unless you would like everybody to sing to you tonight.
Charlotte was trying to warn me. I said it's a deal breaker.
All right.
Well, happy birthday for,
Yeah,
and for spending
congratulations,
it
guys.
tonight
Great
with
video.
us.
Great video. And finally, at the middle school level, first place is a student from Drew Middle School. The title is Recycling Heroes. Could Principal Tammy Hanna and student Nate Henry please come forward? We have the special honor to have his video to show tonight. So I know the school board wanted to see a video last time, and I think this is a deserving candidate. So we'll do the award, and then we'll show his video. Okay, so let's get this technical.
What the? Whatever.
What do you think you're doing?
Batman? I was just throwing this bottle away.
Did it ever occur to you that you could recycle?
What's that?
It's taking old things and turning them into new things.
No. Why would I do that?
Alright, listen up, buddy. Recycling is not something to take lightly.
Why is that?
Well, you see, when we don't recycle, we will pollute the earth.
What is pollution?
Well, pollution is when harmful chemicals or substances are released into the environment.
Well, that does not sound good.
It isn't. The more we pollute the earth, the more unhealthy it will be. Polluting causes all kinds of bad problems.
Oh, does that mean I'm hurting the earth when I don't recycle?
Yes, my associate will show you more things about recycling.
Hello, Earthlings.
Superman! I'm such a big fan.
Yeah. Let's worry about that later. We have bigger issues.
Wow, it's amazing up here. The earth is so beautiful.
Oh, you think so?
What? Where are we?
This is a landfill where all our waste is piled up. These landfills are going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and soon they're going to affect wildlife and our environment.
Jeez, we really need to start recycling.
Yes, we do, and I'll show you why.
Aquaman! Wow.
Come with me.
Man, the ocean is beautiful. Oh look, a turtle!
It's a beautiful, innocent creature, right? But what if somebody threw their trash in the ocean and didn't recycle it? It could kill a lot of sea creatures like this turtle. Or this stingray! Let's get out of here!
You see, recycling will prevent all these things and do more positive things, like save money for making materials, and it conserves materials too.
Let's get started.
So let's give Nate a hand.
Madam Chair, can I say something real quick? Nate, great video. You make the Drew Rams awful proud. I have a feeling you're taking steps in your father's footsteps, aren't you? Good job.
Very good. Okay, that was fantastic. So hopefully we can continue to bring you great pieces of video from our students like that in the future. The second award I'd like to announce is the Green Education Award. This award was developed to recognize a teacher or a staff member who really goes the next step beyond everyone else in sustainability teaching at the school and practices by individual activities. The winner of this year's award is Mrs. Lynn Wagner Smith from Conway Elementary School. So if Lynn could come down. Lynn has done some great things at Conway, and she began as the chairman of the environmental committee, and from that spurned just a host of initiatives at Conway Elementary School, including the development and the development and the expansion of the garden club and some of the things that they did to some of the beautification areas of the school. She puts the W in C5W with wellness and some of the things that she has done in environmental wellness. She has created a program where she has identified and worked with students from each class, ambassadors that they're called, from each. So she has about 60 ambassadors in the school that she now uses them to help promote the sustainable message across the school populace. And finally, she has instituted recycling bags for Trex, and they actually have a tangible product from all the recycling efforts that they did, and they have a bench there that the students can see that their efforts went through and created this bench. So, Lynn, fantastic job, and you're just a great example of what we want our teachers to be and teach our students. So thank you very much. And then finally, the 7th Annual Recycling Challenge. The Recycling Challenge is designed to promote school recycling by creating a friendly competition between the schools at each level. We break the competition into 2 halves and winners for each half of the year, and then an overall winner. And it's really about the amount of recycling materials that these schools recycle relative to the trash they produce. So the overall winners receive $250. The elementary school level winner for the second straight year is K. Waller Barrett Elementary School. And on behalf of Principal Austin and her White Tiger Recycling Team, if I could have Chief Elementary School Officer Carrie Neely come up to accept the award. Barrett Elementary School has now won the award 4 times in the last 5 years. The White Tigers have an awesome recycling program that is second to none and highest in the division this year. They managed to hold off Rock Hill and Hartwood, who were both really, really close at the end. Their annual recycling rate was just shy of 40% at 39.68%. The winner at the middle school level for the second straight year is Stafford Middle School. So if Principal Mark Smith could come down. Stafford Middle School ran away with the win in the second half of the year, so it wasn't very close. So they really just put some distance between their competitors. They have won the award now 4 times out of the last 7 years. So great program, Mark. Great job. The program averaged an annual recycling rate of 35.37%. And finally, the winner at the high school level for the 4th year in a row is Mountain View High School. If Principal Stemple could come down, if he's still here. It actually was a very close race this year at the high school level between the Wildcats and the Eagles from Colonial Forge, but the Wildcats pulled it out at the end. Their program had an annual recycling rate of 39.36. So, congratulations, guys. Oh, Eric, great. Come down. Good job, Joe. Good job. And that's it for our recycling awards. Again, I think a great program that we've been able to maintain for a number of years, and we plan to continue. Shows us that we're really important about sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haran. Next, I'd like to recognize Kenya Wallach, Supervisor of Mathematics and Science, for a presentation of awards.
Madam Chairperson, school board members, Dr. Benson, I am pleased to present several science awards for outstanding achievement. To assist me with the presentation, I will ask Michael Pratt, our science coordinator, to join me. This year, we have been able to send 115 students, 5 high school students, to the Piedmont Regional Science Fair. During that science fair, we had numerous students receive awards and recognition, but this year we've had one special student to actually go to state and win second place. We would like to recognize Leah Otterstatter from Colonial Forge CGS to join us. Her base school is Brook Point. Her base school is Brook Point High School. She goes to Colonial Forge for CGS. Leah won second place in the Earth and Planetary Science category at the State Science Fair. Her project title was The Effect of Sine Wave Frequency on Vortex Disruption, a Step to Ending Tornado Disasters. Her sponsor at Colonial Forge was Bugs Briggs. Leah has actually participated in the Regional Science Fair since 6th grade. She's also been an attendee at our Stars in Science since 6th grade. This year, I had the pleasure of having her introduce me at Stars in Science, and it has always been a pleasure to see you at Stars in Science. Thank you. Our next award is dealing with sea perch. Just so that everyone knows what sea perch is, Mr. Pratt is going to hold up the sea perch. Sea perch is an innovative underwater robotics program that equips teachers and students with the resources needed to build an underwater remotely operated vehicle in an in-school or out-of-school setting. We have a partnership with Dahlgren. And with that partnership, the Office of Mathematics and Science has been able to provide students with the opportunity to learn robotics, engineering, science, mathematics while building the sea perch. We have trained trained about 11 middle schools, 11 elementary schools, 8 middle schools, and 1 high school to be able to implement the Sea-Perch program. This year, we had approximately 56 teams participate in the regional Sea-Perch competition in Mary Washington. This year, we're going to recognize the Rodney Thompson Middle School team. They actually was able to not only participate in the regional, but they actually went to state at LSU. And as a proud graduate of the University of Alabama, if you know about Alabama football, it just breaks my heart to be able to say LSU. But they did go to LSU this May to compete at the National Sea-Perch Challenge, where they were 9th out of 92 middle schools. And they were the only one of 10 teams in the nation that was allowed to present their digital poster. Now we would like to bring forth the teacher team as well as the parent volunteer coach. We would like to bring forth Mrs. Courtney Quell, Mr. Craig Van, and the parent volunteer, Mr. Dirk Avery. Our team members were Isaac Avery and Gavin Depew. We also would not have been able to send our team to regional without the support of Rodney Thompson Middle School's principal and their PTO, and we would like to have a moment to say thank you to them as well.
Get the photo opportunity.
Sounds like a slow shutter speed. This is your camera. Let me get my, I know how to work my
And thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Mark Smith, principal of Stafford Middle School.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Benson. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to promote and show off our Technology Student Association. Let me find my way to the script here. I would like to say congratulations to Leah Ottestatter for her fantastic project. She was a former Spartan. Our Stafford Spartans recently represented Stafford County and Stafford Middle School at the annual Technology Student Association Technosphere Conference in Richmond last month. Our students embodied the Spartan way, being respectful, responsible, and productive. We are so very proud. Our TSA Spartans rocked their events during May's Technosphere competition in team events, individual events, and as a local chapter representing Stafford County. Technosphere represents a difficult level of competition, and student projects took hundreds of hours and dedication to complete. Many members placed and trophied in the top 10, which is no easy feat in these events such as biotechnology, microcontroller design, and technical design. Their hard work and dedication showed itself in the results at the Technosphere. Special state level awards included 7th place as the Outstanding Middle School, 4th place for Outstanding School Division, 2nd place Top Competitor in Emma Devine, and 1st place in the Middle School Community Service Award, also 1st place Member of the Year, Emma Devine. I would also like to this is Emma. I would like to specifically recognize the following trophy winners. 3rd place in STEM Animation, Team 1, Emma Devine, Virginia Chim, and Stone Summers. 3rd place, Community Service Video, Reagan Goger, Bailey Greggs, and Lily Hoyt. Second place, website design, Emma Devine, Virginia Chim, Isabel Patrick, Brandon Fergosa, and Stone Summers. Second in children's stories, Emma Devine, Virginia Chim, Stone Summers, Annie Devine, and Maddie Haynes. And as we build toward the finale, first place in promotional marketing, this is at the state level, Emma Devine. Our Spartans are on to their next challenge, TSA Nationals. It's in Nashville, Tennessee this summer. They're going to be leaving here in just a couple weeks. They've been working hard, and they are ready to represent Stafford Middle and represent Stafford County. We can't wait to see what they accomplish on the national stage, and we'll be back again next year because these folks are fantastic. Would also like to recognize their sponsor, Ms. Summer Craig, who devotes tireless hours to support TSA.
Next, I'd like to recognize Dr. Tammy Hanna, Principal, Drew Middle School. We're a rowdy group tonight.
Madam Chairman, school board members, Dr. Benson, tonight is my honor to recognize an outstanding Drew Middle School student. Would Asa M. please come forward, along with Mr. Jeremy Utt. Asa has earned the National Junior Honor Society Outstanding Achievement Award. He is one of only 500 students in the entire nation to receive this honor. This award is the first of its kind, designed specifically for members of the National Junior Honor Society who demonstrate the outstanding performance in the 5 pillars of NJHS: scholarship, leadership, service, character, and citizenship. Asa is the only Stafford County student to receive this honor. He will receive a $500 award to be placed in a college savings account, and he is also joined by the sponsor of the NJHS, Mr. Jeremy Utt. Please join me in congratulating Asa on this national award.
Congrats. Next, I'd like to recognize Melanie Daniel, Supervisor Gifted and Accelerated Programs.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, school board members, Dr. Benson. I am pleased to present to you several groups tonight of students who have proudly excelled through their use of C5W skills and proudly represent their schools and Stafford County Public Schools. First, I bring to you the Destination Imagination, or DI teams, who earned spots at the DI Global Finals in Knoxville, Tennessee. So don't worry, Spartans. We've already gone down to Tennessee. We've got you covered. This is a volunteer-led educational nonprofit organization that teaches all-century skills and STEM principles to students in grades kindergarten through the university level. Team members work together to develop a solution to one of 7 open-ended challenges, and then they present their challenges at various tournaments. Through DI, students learn and experience a creative process from imagination to innovation and learn skills that will help them succeed in career and life, teamwork, communication, project management, perseverance, creative and critical thinking, and self-confidence. We had 6 teams advance to the DI Global Finals. If their administrators are here and would like to join them, they may. I'm going to call the teams down by school. So as I call your team, your school, please team members and managers come down. Our first team, and I must say, we are having graduation or transition programs at many of our schools. So the team said if they couldn't be here, thank you for supporting them. I know Winding Creek is a big one, and they're not here tonight. Our first team is Rodney Thompson Middle School and H.H. Poole Middle School. These are the Book Titans. So if the Book Titans are here, please come on down. Okay. This team, in their absence, they were led by Julie Kazmar and Karen Peacock. The membership ranges team members from 1 year of membership to 4, and they placed first at the regional competition, and they earned second highest overall instant challenge score. The team members are Michaela Kazmar, Meg Runzie, Joe Kubicki, and Austin Owens. This team, again, is between H.H. Poole and Rodney Thompson, so congratulations to them. Our next team is from Mountain View and Colonial Forge. It's another blended team. If members of that team by Ms. Carthron are here, please come on down. This team has members who have competed for up to 4 years, and they placed first at the regional tournament and first at the states. The team members joining us are Kenzie Carthron with Mountain View High School, Jeffrey Bear with Colonial Forge High School, Sinette Zacharias from Mountain View High School, and Meredith Speet from Mountain View High School. Congratulations. And thank you again, Ms. Carthron.
Oh, great job.
This next team is our smallest team, but they're a team that's been together for a long time. They're from Stafford High School. Panic at the Basement. This is a strong two-person team coming down here. Tressa Largent and Mary Faith Stearns. They have competed for 7 years, and they are led by Jen Stearns. This team has been to DI Global Finals previously. They placed first at both the regional and the state competitions in the main challenges, the instant challenges, and they received a Torchbearer Award, which is a special award that recognizes teams or individuals whose solutions have an extraordinary impact in and beyond the local community. And I must say, at DI Globals, they recognized the top 10 teams. This team was 1 point away. They were 11th place. And but we're so proud of you, so congratulations. Next year. Our team from Winding Creek, as I said, couldn't join us. Is there anyone from Winding Creek, just in case? They're having 5th grade graduation, and they're a 5th grade team, the Suits and Saris. They're led by Emmy Leiser and Julie Stuzer. And they competed from 1 to 3 years, and they also received first place at regionals and first place in their instant challenge, and overall first place at the states. They're Avery Leiser, Aiden Bancher, Gunnar Jones, Reagan Stuser, and Keegan Cosmer. So thank you in advance, or thank you now for their participation. And let's give them a hand. Our next team is from Grafton Village Elementary School. I know they're in the house, so come on down. Our highly improbable team, led by Stephanie Hughes. This team has earned first place at the regional competition for 2 years in a row, and at the first place at the state competition. They've been competing together for 4 years, and when they went to DI Globals, this was your first year, right? Out of 95 competitive teams at the elementary level, they placed in the top 3, or the third, out of 95 teams, right? Wow. That's awesome. Joshua Brayman, Craig Hughes, Zachary Kovats, Michaela Moore, Julia Richardson, Maya Wallach, and Matthew Wild. Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations.
The bow tie. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you. Our final DI team tonight comes from Rocky Run Elementary School. Do we have dynamic dogs joining us tonight? Yes, I see them coming down. This team was led by Sarah Jarrells and Barbara Giese. Their members have only been competing at this level for 1 or 2 years, and they made it to the DI Global Finals. That's pretty awesome. The team placed second at regionals, third at state, and the team members with us tonight, some are with us, some are also at events. Emma Jones, Nathan Jones, Emily Stoltenberg, Keegan Curl, Isabella Santiago, and Caitlin Agable. Thank you very much. They helped me with names, so thank you. And thank you to all of our DI teams. Another group that we're going to recognize tonight are students who applied for the Summer Residential Governor School. These are students in our high schools who apply for these programs in the areas of academics, arts, mentorship programs, foreign language academies, and they go to these schools, universities, and colleges for about 4 weeks during the summer. They represent Stafford County schools, and they're selected from students across the state. This year we had 12 students invited to participate. We had 22 total applicants, and we have students who will be attending very soon. As soon as school lets out, they get like a week. From Brook Point High School, some of these students are here, some are not, but from Brook Point High School, Kaylee Bain, Sydney Gooden, and Jackson Hoyt. If any of these students are here, please come down. They will be attending Radford University and Lynchburg College for Visual and Performing Arts and Mathematics, Science, and Technology. So congratulations to them. From Colonial Forge High School, Catherine Kata and Bryant Turner Ricks. Bryant Turner Ricks is our only student who advanced to the Latin Academy at Randolph-Macon College, and Catherine will be doing Visual and Performing Arts at Radford University. Mackenzie West is at Mountain View High School. Mackenzie was our student selected for Life Sciences and Medicine. Mackenzie will be at VCU and MCV being recognized. Come on down, glad to see you here. And I believe Mackenzie is our only student who was selected to go to this program. So you can imagine some of the science ones are pretty competitive. And they have limited spaces because they have to match them with so many people to work with. Congratulations. From North Stafford High School, we have 4 students all attending Radford University for the summer. Joshua Galatro, Sophia Insera for Visual and Performing Arts, and Alexandra Leek and William Reisnick for Humanities. And finally, from Stafford High School, we have Philip Lambert, who was selected for Mathematics, Science, and Technology, and Dana Richards, selected for our Visual and Performing Arts. And those are our students who've been selected for Summer Residential Governor School. Thank you. Now I get to stay with you and get...
Before you move into the gifted, I would like to show the board and make sure that everybody saw we got a wonderful thank you card from the Winding Creek group that wasn't able to be here tonight. They had it at my spot, but because I've been panicking over papers, it got owned to there. But it's a great big thank you, Stafford County School Board, from the Suits and SARS of Winding Creek Elementary. There are some letters. I will send that around, but I did want to acknowledge and thank them for our wonderful card.
Thank you for doing that. We had many of our teams thank the board for supporting them going there, so thank you for saying that. All right. Should I go on now?
Yep.
Awesome.
Our Gifted Advisory Committee report.
So during the year, I've had a great opportunity, as I do every year, to work with an advisory committee of parents and students and teacher representatives and our liaison, who's not with us right for a second, but he'll come back, all looking at different ways that we can make sure we're supporting our students with needs in the area of gifted education and our programs for all students. This committee has met each month. The chair is Dr. Carrie McShay. The committee members are very dedicated and have put together a presentation to share with you tonight. And I am going to ask that the committee members all please stand and be recognized. I thank them for coming out, and I'll ask them to come on down. I'll turn it over to Dr. McShay.
Good evening. As Melanie said, I'm Carrie McShay. I am the co-chair this year of the Gifted Advisory Committee, along with Dr. Jamie Lenahan-Olette. The committee has had another very good and productive year. Our central focus this year was on supporting equity and access to gifted education. And the more that we discussed this topic, the more we realized that our conversations and our focus align very well with our school district's strategic plan and our focus on C5W. Consequently, our recommendations for this year are specifically aligned with both the goals of the plan and with all components of C5W. In order to more fully demonstrate how our recommendations align with both of these pieces, we thought we would begin with a brief overview of C5W. C5W skills are for all centuries and all learners. The skills are as follows: communication, citizenship, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and wellness. Before we get to the recommendations, we thought that the board might like to hear from two of our students, both of whom have participated in gifted and accelerated programs such as Focus, CGS, and IB during their time in Stafford schools. First, I would like to present to you Ms. Margot Rayner, who is a senior at Brook Point. Margot will be sharing with you how her time in these programs has developed her own C5W skills. And then once Margot speaks, I will be showing you a video of another student, Catherine Cardenas, who is a CGS student at North Stafford. Catherine actually intended to speak tonight, but she had her tonsils out yesterday and could not be here. However, in an application of her C5W communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking skills, Catherine is going to be sharing her insights with us by video. So I will now turn the presentation over to Margot.
Hello, my name is Margot Rayner. I am going to be a senior at Brook Point High School, and I'm a full IB program diploma candidate. I have been also in the Focus program since 2nd grade. First, I would like to thank Dr. Benson and the school board members for appointing me to the Gifted Advisory Committee. In addition, I thank you for supporting IB and the other gifted programs. I can attest to the fact that they have been very instrumental to my educational and personal development. Being in these programs has helped me to develop my C5W skills. Most importantly, my critical thinking, which has been challenged by the rigor of the IB program and allows me to analyze and interpret information with higher levels of intellectual diversity. Another C5W skill is collaboration. The IB program encourages collaboration with fellow students and the community. Being able to collaborate with my intellectual peers in smaller groups has given us the opportunity to build and learn off of each other's ideas. Last but not least, my wellness, a critical skill of C5W, has been nourished through my participation in high school sports, as well as the CAS component of the IB Diploma program. I have to complete a diverse portfolio of creative, active, and service-related activities for this program. As a result, I have found good balance in my physical and mental wellness. These are but brief examples of the success of the gifted programs in conjunction with C5W. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Margot, and see if I can use my skills and get this video to work. I am. Is it?
You have to be in the presentation.
There we go. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Cardenas. I apologize for not being able to attend tonight's presentation. I will currently be recovering from a tonsillectomy. Despite this, I felt that it was important to share the wonderful experiences and opportunities that Gifted Services have given me throughout my years in the Commonwealth Governor's School program. Every day, CGS incorporates the different aspects of C5W in our everyday learning. CGS requires the integration of different unique subjects into large projects that are meant to stretch our creativity. These large projects have led me to create and publish my own children's book and to also create different short films with my classmates. We are then further challenged to present these projects to not only our peers and our teachers, but to administrators and different community members. Over my years in CGS, I have strengthened my communication skills. These presentations have required me to practice my speeches and my projects on my family members and in front of the mirror. I have been able to extend my presentation skills to be used in the debate team and in different presentations that I must give. While every student in CGS is fully capable of being successful in the classroom, our teachers stress the importance of taking our skills and talents outside of the classroom and into the community. Thus, every CGS student has a special passion for serving the community and those around them. I myself have volunteered to tutor young children after school and to be a volunteer golf coach. I have also used my talents in golf to raise over $2,000 for wounded veterans and their families through Birdies for the Brave. In summary, CGS not only aims to create a better student, but a better citizen through incorporating C5W in our everyday learning. Thank you for allowing me to speak on my gifted services experience.
The committee would like to thank Margot and Catherine for their insights. Next, we would like to present our recommendations. Please note again that our focus has been on ensuring equity and access. The committee strongly desires to ensure equity and access to resources that will support the development of C5W skills in all Stafford County students. Also, we would like to note again that our recommendations align with the goals from the strategic plan and our mission, which is to provide exceptional learning experiences that inspire and empower all learners to thrive. Briefly, we would like to reiterate that the goals relate to student achievement, communication, resource stewardship, and the workforce, meaning the employees of Stafford County Schools. Our first recommendation aligns with the student achievement portion of the strategic plan goals. We would like to ask the board to continue to ensure that gifted students are clustered according to the local gifted plan. This allows students to receive an accelerated and extended curriculum alongside their intellectual peers. It also enables a classroom teacher to more effectively serve all students. Also related to student achievement, we would like the board to support the continued provision of extended English curriculum in grade 8, as well as the implementation of extended English in grades 6 and 7. In this way, gifted learners can engage with an appropriately challenging curriculum.
And I think that helps me combat my nerves.
The committee
Before I get on the block, I shake
The committee also recommends that SCPS continue to recruit, develop, and retain the highest quality teachers, not just for gifted education, but for all students and all positions, especially those such as math and science that are harder to fill. Our next recommendation aligns with the workforce and student achievement goals. The committee would like to return middle and high school GAP teachers to their primary roles as GAP resource teachers. Currently, most GAP teachers in both middle and high school are being pulled away from their prime focus as GAP teachers to teach classes and perform other tasks. Next, again, related to student achievement and workforce goals, we strongly recommend a full-time focus teacher for every school. The committee would like to note that we are close to this goal now, as only 3 more teachers are needed. A full-time teacher helps to ensure that all students who need gifted services can be appropriately identified and referred, which is a large part of our focus this year, again, on equity and access. Elementary school students with a full-time teacher are identified as gifted at a significantly higher rate in this county. The committee also recognizes that gifted resource teachers provide critical professional development for classroom teachers. The next recommendation, which relates to professional development, aligns with the goals of student achievement, workforce, and resource stewardship. As in years past, the committee would like to require all teachers to take SCPS training courses in gifted education during each licensure recertification cycle. Finally, the committee has a new recommendation this year that came directly from our discussion of equity and access that also aligns with the goals of communication and student achievement. The committee would like the board to develop and disseminate a resource document that would provide information on educational services, including gifted education, English to speakers of other languages, and special education. The document would be provided in the annual information packet that is given to parents at the start of each school year. On this slide, we have a summary, brief summary of our recommendations, including the new one at the end, as well as the estimated cost for each of the recommendations. In summary, The committee's recommendations clearly align with our district's vision for C5W and with our strategic plan. The ultimate goal is that all students will have the same opportunities that have enabled both Catherine and Margot to develop C5W skills and to thrive as learners in our schools. The committee would like to thank the board for its ongoing support of gifted learners and all students in Stafford County Public Schools. Thank you.
Is get it up the fairway.
Thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Comments? Okay. Thank you so much.
I'd like to echo that recommendation about the gifted teacher, the focus teacher in every school. I think I've been hearing that for the past 17 years that I've been on the board, so it's something to keep in mind when budget time comes around. I mean, every year that recommendation comes forward.
Wonderful job again by the gifted gang. They work hard. They come and they always bring a very concise document to us, and they always provide recommendations. And you know, they've been spot on for the years that I've been on the board. So you know, we got to. In the follow-up portion, they actually put in there also, you know, what have we done about the past recommendations? So we need to, as a board, I don't think we've taken a look at that for a while about the recommendations that come to us and and I know it usually happens in August, I think. We did last year. Yeah, we did last year. So let's just see if we can't remember to.
We said we were going to have I think we were going to talk about having a work day just to address the committee recommendations so we can get back. Because although staff often works on these and the superintendent is, you know, implementing a lot of these things, we really don't have the appropriate feedback to the committees to let them know there is a fruit of their labor.
Yeah, agreed. Right. There you go.
All right. We will move on to our CIP Advisory Committee's annual presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, board members, Dr. Benson. The CIP Committee is going to provide an annual presentation to you tonight. The chairman, Walter Ham, will come up and provide that for you. Thank you, Walter.
Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Benson, good evening. It's my pleasure this evening to present to you the final report of the Capital Improvements Planning Advisory Committee. Please sit back and relax. In the next few minutes, I'm going to provide you nothing contentious, no decisions to make, and most importantly, no recommendations for additional funding. Before I go further, I'd like to thank the facility staff and everyone else who helped us in this project. I will tell you that it wasn't quite as fun as last year when we spent a great deal of time doing designs on an elementary school. However, hopefully we will provide some good input as well this year. Mr. Hirons, you may remember in the fall of 2014, you asked that the committee take a look at alternate uses for the Ewalt farm site. We put it on our list. It was superseded by the elementary school design last year, but this year we've looked at that, and with this project, we'll tell you a bit more about that. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Ewalt farm site, is 172 acres that was purchased quite some time ago, and I'll give you more detail on that. 9 years ago was the last time that I understand that the board took action on this particular property. It was to be a high school site. It had been fully designed, ready to go. It was shelved due to some changes in population growth and demographics. I believe one or two of the present board members actually were in those deliberations, but I don't think anyone else was. And I may even be incorrect about that. For this particular project, I'm going to ask for no decisions this evening. You'll see later on in the brief that this is an ongoing project, something that we think we need to take a look at next year also. For orientation to the site, you'll see that it's in an area that is not a great deal of traffic. The one specific thing about this site that bears upon alternate use is that the population growth and demographics of the county have changed a good bit since the decision for the site was made. It doesn't mean that the school could not be built there, but there may be more favorable sites at this point in time. In a bit more detail, this is an overview of the full site itself with the potential high school graphic displayed upon it. If you can see on that graphic, there are dotted lines. There are actually several different pieces of the site. The high school site would be 71 acres, but there are other areas, some of which are not usable for anything except green space and park space. But the point here is that that particular site at 172 plus acres can be used for multiple functions. A little bit more detail on the site and its characteristics. Anything the site would be used for that would be large improvement would require significant investment in utilities. Even though it is within the urban service area, it's not now serviced. It would also require road improvements. The utilities and the road improvements were actually within the cost estimate for the high school, but would need to be factored in for any alternate uses. So what do we do this year? Again, I'll repeat, it wasn't nearly as fun as traveling around, looking at elementary schools and recommending designs. However, we did get to go to a number of different areas. And our focus was explore the possibilities and try to narrow the possibilities of what we'd use this site for. Let me direct your attention to the last bullet, sale for commercial or residential use. I expect that that would probably be the last alternative. However, we were asked to explore that. I did speak to Mr. Payne, and while he has not gotten back to me on ideas for that, I know that some of the board members do speak to him, and you may have gotten feedback from him about commercial use. Personally, I hope it doesn't come to that. Potential site uses. We had expected going into this, I won't call it a study, but I'll call it a survey, that the Parks and Recreation Department for the county would be, shall we say, somewhat enthusiastic about a site that large, and maybe not use all of it, but have plans for some type of green space and perhaps an unimproved area. Well, it turns out that the Parks and Recreation Department has a number of unimproved sites that they're planning to develop over the next several years, so their reception was somewhat lukewarm. We will pursue that some more, but we didn't get much feedback from Parks and Recreation. The biggest focus that we had, and the most promising, is the possibility of developing at least part of the site for bus parking and perhaps shifting some of the current fleet maintenance site plans to that site. Again, I will term this as a bright idea at this phase. However, as we've explored it more, we think that it deserves some more attention just because it has expansion potential. And it's one of the reasons that we'd like to look at it again next year. Committee recommendations. First off, this ends up being a 2-year effort. We looked at broad possibilities this year. We want to look at more specifics next year. We think we should focus on potential for school bus parking and fleet services. Before we go very far, I fully understand there needs to be discussions with the county about this, and not my place to do that, so the board would have to determine how that happens. And thirdly is that I think it's appropriate for school board members to engage with your counterparts on the Board of Supervisors to talk about alternate uses for this site. While I received a cordial reception by all the county staff when I talked with them about this, they really didn't take it very far, given that they weren't so sure that this was sanctioned by the county itself. So moving forward, I think perhaps a little bit of discussion with the board next year, look possibly more at bus parking, which is very much needed in the county, and possibly shifting some fleet services capabilities to that site. There is additional detail on that particular subject in your backup slides. They're the last 2 slides. I won't go into those, but if you do have any questions of those, I can answer them, or any other questions on the brief.
Thank you very much. Any questions from board members?
Yeah, real quick. The bus parking actually does concern me a little, quite a bit, because of where that is in relation to, number one, the quality of the roads getting there, and number two, the VRE station and lot that is right there. And I would assume that quite a bit of bus traffic, school bus related traffic, both in the morning and afternoon, going to parking or going, getting their day started, would be somewhat in line with the same time as VRE ridership, which is going to cause more traffic right in that area, which I hear about on a daily basis, no more traffic. So we can't really do traffic impact study type work, but if we can figure out some way to get some of that information or data to include in that option, and the pros and cons measurements on that.
Next year, what we'll do is provide you with the traffic impact information that was studied when the high school was a project expected to be built. VDOT did some work on that. I can't tell you to what level of detail it was done, but there is some of that. Obviously, we need to bring that forward another 9 years since things have changed quite a bit.
And they have recently done some additional studies because they installed a traffic light right there at Leland Road and Primer House Road, which would be a feeder getting back to that area. So that might be some useful information. That was done within the last year and a half.
One of the discussions we had is to determine what the plans are for Primer House Road to extend it fully with extended lanes, because that would be necessary to be able to access that site. Okay. Other questions, please?
Thank you, Walter.
Okay.
If you need me at all when you kick off again in September, you know how to find me.
Oh, absolutely, and I neglected it, but Ms. Egan provided a wealth of information during several of our meetings. Yes, it actually was a wealth.
We could call it a wealth, but it's okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not,
thank you
Thank
again.
you very much, Walter. We appreciated it, and all the work done by the committee. All right, moving on, we are going to move to citizens' comments. Board members, I think you may be aware that we believe right now Board Docs is working, so you can, yes, so it does seem to be working. So we will move on to public comments. Speakers shall identify themselves by name, address, and organizational affiliation if the spokesperson represents an organization. Speakers shall also announce the purpose or topic of their comments. 3 minutes shall be allotted to speakers. The chairman reserves the right to restrict the total citizen comment received at any particular meeting to a predetermined maximum number of minutes with the approval of the board. Citizen comment which is profane, abusive, or which threatens imminent physical harm shall be ruled out of order by the chairman. Although the board provides the opportunity for citizen comment, individuals desiring to register complaints against division employees or division programs, services, or activities may also utilize the procedures outlined in Policy 1113, Public Complaints. When you come up with the 3 minutes, the green light will start. You will have 1 minute remaining when the yellow light comes on. When the red comes on, your time has expired, and you have about 5 seconds to wrap up. I have a list of 5 people. If I will call them in order. If you could line up consecutively, that would great to keep us moving. If there are any additional speakers who would like to speak, if you would then begin to, as the 5 wind down, go ahead and line up behind so we can keep moving. So number 1, Sarah Costello. 2, Lee Torres. 3, Bill Mock. 4th Lori Lupo, and 5th Dana Brown. If you all could come forward and start. And thank you for waiting.
Do I wait for the light to come on? When you start speaking. Okay, sorry. Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Sarah Costello. I'm the president of Document Technologies, which is the Xerox agency that provided you guys with the Xerox bid, or the finance department. I came to you today knowing that anything I say will probably not change the direction of the board on the vote tonight for the copier award. I came here to share my disappointment. On April 28th, I sent each of you an email voicing my concern that the information provided by Mr. Wolf at the April 26th board meeting did not seem accurate. I included some documentation sent to us by Ms. Ann Sharp in your procurement department showing where some statements, Mr. Wolf, were not accurate. I was hopeful after the board meeting on the 26th, hearing that a new committee would be formed to evaluate all the RFP criteria and responses to then determine who would be recommended for the award. Up until that point, I had confirmed that only one of my references we provided had been called on, out of the several, actually 10, that we provided. Luckily, Ms. Ann Sharp did let us know that she spoke to that one of the references, and it was very good, and we confirmed her feedback with that reference. I was optimistic that the new committee would be reaching out to all the references, or at least a few, so that they could have all the information available to them to make an informed decision. I am aware that Mr. Wolf stated he compiled a lot of the data used to determine the equipment service scores from the internet and the initial evaluation. That should be great news for us in Xerox, being that we're recognized by J.D. Power for service and also recognized by BLI, Buyers Labs, for the line of the year. After seeing the vendor comparison chart included on this agenda and reading the description, it seems pretty clear to me that the newly formed committee received only the data that was previously somehow gathered by Mr. Wolf, Ms. Ann Sharp, I'm not sure, and were instructed to make a determination based on that information. Perhaps they were instructed that the information was complete or accurate, and were only to use what was provided to create that table to make the recommendation. I say this because as of yesterday, the 13th, not a single other reference was contacted on this round for review. From the time of the RFP submission in January until the 13th of June, one reference had been contacted. So I ask you, how was any of this information determined? If not from references, and not from industry leaders such as BLI, not from such a nationally recognized third-party evaluator as J.D. Power, I must question the validity of any information used. I am hopeful that by bringing this up the shortfalls from this particular procurement process, you'll be more aware in the future, not just in copier acquisitions, but in all contracts awarded. Again, I'm doubtful anything that I am saying will change tonight. Oops, sorry. And that's it.
Good evening. I am Lee Terrace. I work for Xerox Corporation. I, too, would like to comment on the procurement. First of all, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to compete for your business. Having said that, I'd also like to thank you for not really giving anybody the opportunity to compete for your business. There were several improprieties in this process. You made it a point in your board notes to point out that the review committee that Sarah Costello just mentioned did confirm that the procurement was legal. I agree. However, legal and ethical are nothing alike in some cases. And what Sarah neglected to tell you is after Ann Sharp told us that on 2/22 we received a positive reference from the City of Fredericksburg schools, she left out the part that Ann then directed us to provide references from Fauquier schools, Orange County schools, and Louisa schools. I have worked here almost 32 years. I'm well preserved. I have never in 32 years been told by a customer who to provide a reference for by name. The fact is, Ann knew that those 3 clients were not Xerox users. So to say that you evaluated this fairly is incorrect. We understand this is probably not going to change the board's decision. Got it? I just want to close with a couple of things. The reality is, it's your game. It's your district. It's your procurement. You can do as you see fit. But I do have to tell you, the most troubling piece of this is it was me who stood here at this podium on April 26th and said to you, there is a swing of $5,000 a month in play for copier services. And now what we find out is in tonight's board notes, you have changed the amount set aside for this award from $650,000 a year that RICO had quoted down to $588,000. And the reason that happened is inside of your notes, you made the comment that you went back to RICO and gave them another chance to reprice. Hey, I didn't get that option. I don't know if the other three competitors did either. But to tell me this was an ethical procurement cycle, I do not buy it. I'm going to close with two last sentiments. I would encourage you to review your procurement procedures. I would sincerely ask you to respect us as a vendor community. My time is worth something, and so is everybody else's that responded. And if this is not going to be an honest procurement, please don't bother to put it out. Because what I'm struggling with is I'm the guy that told you you had a problem. You then went back to the guy that was way off the chart high. He comes in $62,000 less than he was before, and you're rewarding a gouger. A gouger. Why don't you reward others? Last and not least, and I will take no more than 5 seconds, you need to be ethical beyond reproach. You shouldn't be in this position where a vendor's asking you, are you doing the right thing? Thank you. We understand it doesn't change anything, but in closing, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Consider outsourcing procurement, and last and not least, I was asked by Mr. Scott Horan this evening as I was waiting for the meeting to start,
Sir,
would
I'm
I
sorry.
be bitching tonight?
We need to move on, but
It's
I appreciate
wrapped.
it.
Take these comments as a good way to evaluate yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that too much of a sting? Well, you asked if I was going to make a sting, so I thought I'd check.
Yes, good evening. My name is Bill Mock. I live in North Ferry Farms in the George Washington District. I have 3 grandchildren in the Stafford school system. I also have a daughter who teaches at Rocky Run. I'm here tonight to comment on the liberal cell phone policy for high schools. I spoke to you a year ago about the policy. At that time, I said the policy does not support academic achievement for all students. Tonight, I want to present a study that supports my claim. This is a study that I mentioned last year, but did not discuss. But first, a few comments. In my opinion, students do not need cell phones in schools. They get plenty of cell phone time after schools. My grandson is a good example. He's on his phone all the time. So he knows how to use a cell phone. Next, it is a burden and distraction for teachers. They have to learn the system, implement the system, and enforce the system. This takes away from teaching students, which is what they're paid for. Now to the study. This is a study by the University of Texas of 91 schools. They looked at 91 schools in England from 01 to 13 before and after banning cell phones. The highlights are as follows. The average test score improved by 6% after banning phones. The high achieving scores were not affected by that. They weren't affected by the ban. This is to be expected, since these highly motivated students are better able to concentrate and can make up for lost teaching time on their own. But the big surprise was for the low achievers. Their test scores increased by 14%. Also, the scores of special ed students and those getting free lunches improved by 10 to 12%. The takeaway is that cell phones in school is most damaging to low-achieving students and low-income students. These students are already at an academic disadvantage to the higher achievers. Cell phones in schools make this educational inequality even worse. We do not know how these results apply to Stafford schools, but we do know that Stafford schools, being public, not private, they have high achievers, have low achievers, have special ed students, and students getting free lunches. The goal of Stafford School is to serve the academic needs of all the students and not have a policy that affects some students in a negative way. So please do not risk making the academic disadvantage between the students greater than it already is. please ban cell phones. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lori Lupo, and I live at 100 Pilgrim Cove, and I'm here to talk about the exam exemption policy at Stafford County, specifically in the high school. My son is a 9th grader at Brook Point, and what I'm sharing with you is the form that exempted him from his exams. And as you can see on there, the criteria is a 93 or above and not being suspended, an A- doesn't count, or a student who's been absent from class 2 or less days, not been suspended, and maintained an A3 or above, and a B- does not count. Well, my son, he got an A- in Spanish too, and he missed 3 days of school because he was sick and they were excused. So I couldn't understand how someone with a B who was in class less was exempt and my son wasn't. So I started to call the school, and I started with the guidance counselor, and I was told that I had a problem with the policy to contact the school board. So I then went to his teacher, and she said that her hands were tied. I reached out to my wonderful rep, and she reached out to central office to help me. I reached out to my son's AP, and he reached out to the principal, and the request was denied. I left a message for the principal, and he actually got back to me today, and we had a discussion about it, and he said had I reached out to him specifically, he could have exempted my son. But it was too late because his exam was today. Now, thankfully, he scored an 84, but the principal also sent an email to the teacher exempting him after the exam was already taken. And he went to school and called him up there and said, oh, you're exempt, which was, a little confusing to a 14-year-old. So I guess I'm asking you tonight if you could take a look at this, because I don't understand how absences have anything to do with an exemption policy. My son had bronchitis, and I don't understand how him being ill should weigh on his academics. So if you could please take a look at that and see if there's something you can do, because I just don't think it's fair. I feel like you're punished if you're sick. I mean, you'll get sent home from school if you're ill, if you have a fever, and that's out of someone's control. So why should you be penalized? And I would further say that maybe the exam policy as a whole should be looked at, because this would have been the first exam he's ever taken. And for me to stand here and say that he's prepared or knows how to study would be a lie, because he's not. I feel like, as a whole, the system fails students. In middle school, he was exempt, and here he is coming up with a big exam, and he didn't know how to study for it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dana Brown. I live at 41 St. Williams Way in the Rock Hill District, and I wanted to talk to you tonight about STEM and cell phones. First of all, we know how hard it is to get girls in the STEM program. I want you to know that you've lost at least 2 bright girls for next year for your STEM program. One of them was my daughter. She was very interested in following in her dad's footsteps and going into IT. She wanted to do coding and programming. And the other one was a girl I met last night at the softball field. Her name's Caroline. She goes to Rodney, and she's going to be going to Colonial Forge next year. She wanted to study engineering. The reason both of these girls are not going to be able to participate in the STEM program is because there's some narrow-minded idea up here at central office that we were going to divide up all the programs per school. We're going to have one IT program, and that's going to be at Brook, one engineering program, and that's going to be at North. And the problem with that is my daughter is going to go to Mountain View, and the distance between Mountain View and Brook is about a half an hour. Now, I did ask for the annex schedule to see how long the scheduled bus ride is, and they said it's 20 minutes, which is a long time. It's more like a half hour because my daughter did participate in the STEM program during the summer last year at Brook. Even at 20 minutes, which I think it's more each way, it's 40 minutes a day. That's a lot of instructional time to lose. And I'd like to know, how is it we're qualifying for our 990 hours when we are missing that much instructional time every single day? Might be a good question, so I'd like to have that in writing. Let's see. We know from going over on snow days just how much even 5 minutes can make a difference in our instructional hours. So 40 minutes a day, I think, is substantial. The other thing is the cell phones. I think adding it to the agenda this morning or last night was a little bit disingenuous or sneaky. After your last discussion several weeks ago, I know you had a split board on this. It was a 6-6, so that means the motion fails. It's interesting, as soon as we get a new member, Ms. Ayers, we get it right back on the agenda without advertising it properly. The agenda was up all weekend. I read it several times. There was nothing on it until I think either late last night or this morning. You know that most of the teachers don't support this. But yet you continue to ram it down their throats, and you force this on them. And I think a lot of you are more concerned with the opinions and the desires of a handful of administrators than you are of your teachers on the front lines. In essence, I think you're sucking up to the wrong people. There's a lot of egregious and abuse violations going on in our schools, and I'm not sure they all make it up to you. I think there's an effort to keep a lot of it from you. For instance, after your last meeting, it was when you discussed this, I think it was the very next day, from what I heard, there was a very descriptive sex video made in the stairwell at Stafford High School. The day after you guys discussed this, of course, it gets posted on social media. I think the girl was videoed without even being asked. You know, I'm sure you've all seen the fight videos that broke out at Stafford High last week, all the students videotaping those. I can't imagine what kind of lawsuits we're facing from that. Thank you.
Teresa, if you could sign in at the end. You know the deal.
I know the deal. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Teresa Thompson. I'm presently serving as president of the Stafford Education Association. I would also like to speak regarding the cell phone policy and the addition to the agenda for this evening. Many of our teachers and many of our members have expressed a great deal of concern regarding the present policy. I think if we need to allow phones at all in the schools, that our best option is what is presented to you or will be presented to you tonight as option 2. That is to allow the cell phones in the morning before school, at lunchtime, in the cafeterias, and then after school. I think if we could at least keep the cell phones out of our hallways and in between classes, that it would help the classroom teacher a great deal in being able to gain control of that classroom and those devices at the beginning of the class start. Any teacher, and it is in your policy, any teacher that wants to use technology in their classroom and use the phone as a technology device still has that ability if it's something that they want to do that's part of their instruction for the day. So we're not eliminating that privilege from those teachers. What you are doing is cutting down on the disruption at the beginning of each class period in regaining those students back from their messages that they were doing, the music that they were listening to, the phone calls that they were making in between those classes. So I think the least would be to at least hinder that from those hallways in between classes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? If so, please come forward. If not, I will close public comment. Board, would you like a quick break now, or would you like to wait? Are we good?
Let's just get our
Comments? Okay.
Or Madam Chair, we could, a little bit of a departure from the norm is we could suspend our comments and transfer them on to the next meeting because we had our so many, if the board members should decide.
Mr. McCosker, I wouldn't mind that. I would like us, though, to welcome Ms. Ayers and at least give her an opportunity this evening. But if the rest of us would like to defer, I would just at least like to give Ms. Ayers at least that. Well, it's her first meeting. I think there's.
That's appropriate.
That's right. She may want to. So you can still do that.
And that's appropriate. I agree to that as well.
So I think on behalf of the board, we would all have welcomed Ms. Ayers. I believe that's our next. Yes, board comments. I will just open welcoming on behalf of the board Ms. Ayers this evening as our new member representing the Griffiths-Widewater District. We all would like to welcome you. Board members, how do you feel about public comment? Or
I would like to just make a committee report.
Right. Well, let's do committee report after Ms. Ayers. Is that right? Is that okay with the board? All right, Ms. Ayers, if you would like just a moment.
Just a moment, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone, board members, Dr. Benson. I do feel welcomed. I do. I am I'm humbled to have been appointed to this position. And I look forward to working with you all even more than I already have. I mean, I have attended so much already in the last 2 weeks, starting with Barrett Academy's graduation and then Brook Point graduation. Oh my goodness. Awesome. I mean, it was totally different perspective for me. And then the retirement ceremony yesterday with my, the president of my campaign right here beside me, my daughter was with me. And so I appreciate your confidence, and not only for Griffiths-Widewater, I look forward to representing you and doing what's best for our district, but also doing what's best for our school district and what's best for our students and the teachers and everyone who's working in our schools. So with that, I will continue to be brief, and we'll work hard with everyone here because this is my new team. And ma'am, back to you.
Glad to have you on the team. Mr. Hirons, and if there's any other committee reports, I believe, though, Mr. Hirons should deliver his.
Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to report on a meeting yesterday because it was the first meeting in almost, I think, 9 months of the Joint Schools Working Group. That's the 3-on-3 committee meeting, 3 board of supervisors members, 3 school board members. We met in the over at the county administration office yesterday. The discussion included shared services. As many of us know, they're pretty intent on moving forward on shared financial department and shared services in that aspect, and they are developing an implementation plan. We had some robust discussion about that, and we'll continue to have robust discussion, I'm sure, amongst the board and amongst the school board, and hopefully with our counterparts on the board of supervisors as they move forward over there on that. We also discussed the Moncur rebuild and the effects that it's having from the increased costs and from the need to have them reappropriate from the FY15 salary carryover funds $2 million to make the CIP work as they want. They haven't committed to that yet, but we hopefully had somewhat positive conversation yesterday of the need and our desire to make that happen. Like I said, I don't think there was really anything actionable for us out of that meeting immediately, but all the participants, both from the board side and from the school board side, agreed that some of the relationship problems we've been having lately with the board of supervisors has come from a lack of communication. We all committed to continue to build on communication, and we agreed to have the 3-on-3 meeting meet more routinely. In fact, we set our next meeting already. Our next meeting of the 3-on-3 meeting will be Monday, August 22nd at 6 p.m., and I believe we are the hosts, so it'll be right here in our executive chambers. So the members that were there, Ms. Healy, Ms. Ayers was actually there. She got the first day, and Ms. Hazard was there as well, and I believe somewhat in the stead of Mr. McCosker, who was unable to be there, but is a member of that committee. If any of you want to make any observations that I missed, and let's try.
I think you covered it. Thank you.
All right. All right. Let's go to superintendent's comments.
No comments this evening, Madam Chair. Thank you.
You got to have all the fun at the beginning.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the reverse suspensions. How are we going to handle that?
Okay. All right, moving on to consent. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve consent.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We will take a 5-minute break, and then we'll return for action items.
It's new state.
You're a wizard.
Let's go, back to work.
Can we just do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, moving on to action item 12.01, approve superintendent's draft metrics related to the new strategic planning framework. Are there any questions for?
It's action.
Right, are there any questions? Oh.
We have to make
Motion, sorry.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I move to.
Yes.
To make a motion to do something. I don't know.
I second her move to make a motion.
Move to approve 1201.
Man, it's getting late. Thank you. To move action item 12.01.
Second.
Thank you,
All right,
Scott.
it has been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions for Dr.
I have a question for Ms. Eakin today. Was that just water back there?
It's called being really tired studying for civics last night with Sean, and then getting up and making a breakfast this morning, and then working a full day, and then coming here right after work. I'm
A
white.
child of an elected official having issues with civics?
I know. We won't talk about it.
There's Mr. Nichols. Oh, he didn't hear that either.
Any discussions or any comment? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our second item. Is there even a motion for discussion?
Madam Chairman, I have a motion, and I want to discuss it briefly when we finish. I'd like to approve action item number 1102, but only for 1 year and with no extensions.
Second. 1202.
1202.
Yeah.
You know, my thing just,
She was drinking. I was drinking.
yeah. We drank from the same bottle, what can I say?
Okay.
Yeah,
can-
1202.
Can you restate?
All right, 1202 is to approve the award of the service contract to Riash in the amount of $588,200 in support of FY 17 copier services for the school division. And I move that we approve it for 1 year with no extensions. And I'll
second.
tell you why when we have the discussion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Ms. Healy?
Madam Chairman, we sent this back to the superintendent to, have it reviewed after issues were raised a month or so ago. And I see that they came back to us, with more information. However, we've got some more information tonight, which disturbs me. And if, in fact, this information is true, I think we have some real issues that need to be addressed. Now, I understand it is legal, and we didn't even have to do what we did. We could have just awarded the contract. But if we're going to put it out there, then I think we have to be fair in what we're requiring, and to consider all the facts. So that's an aside. The reason that I made the motion to approve it for 1 year is because we need copiers on July 1st. I recognize that. If this contract were not awarded, it could be chaotic in the school division. And I don't feel like I have enough information to consider another of the vendors, not just the ones that came to speak to us tonight, but all the ones who were invited to apply. But I am concerned, and I do think we need to get this information, and I'd like to get more information for this board as to how this occurred. Looking at these criteria, if in fact information was requested but not considered, if specific recommendations were requested, I cannot imagine. But at this point, in the interest of the efficiency of the school systems and having copiers, which we all know are, a basic necessity of life, I'd like to limit this to 1 year with no extensions.
Madam Chair, I too support, of course, with my second, I support that motion. There is a difference between being legal and being right, which was stated, and I just don't feel that we were doing the right thing on this issue. So we do need the copiers in 2 weeks. However, with the individual, our contracting individual, that it's a shared service that we're looking at with the county, as you fought so hard to get, Madam Chair. I think that will kind of help us out if indeed we're not doing it quite right, or quite fairly, or quite equitably, or that individual will be on board hopefully, and we'll have it for next year. So I do approve the motion, and for 1 year without extension.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes. Ms. Kibbe.
I do know when it occurs to me that when contracts are negotiated, there could be a difference between a 1-year contract with an extension in terms of the negotiation, and just a 1-year contract with no annual renewals. I don't know if that's going to affect the cost of this particular contract. It won't? Okay, thank you, Mr. Horan.
Madam Chairman, if I may, Mrs. Kibbe, that option to renew is strictly at our discretion.
Okay.
So the vendor is offering the services for those years, which we can choose to extend or not choose to extend. What I want to do is tie our hands so we don't have a choice, that this has to come back. It's looked at afresh and anew, and well before the need for those copies to start being put out on July 1st next year.
I just wasn't sure about how they negotiate those contracts. Thank you.
Dr. Benson.
Madam Chair, thank you. And Ms. Healy, I think that's a perfect solution. This was not a competitively bid award initiated from us. We used the U.S. Communities contract, and I would suggest to the board that we follow a formal RFP process in this next cycle. So it was competitively bid, not by us. And this next time, I suggest that we go out with our own RFP.
And as stated by Mr. McCosker, perhaps that can be one of the areas the joint contracting officer would be. We're already paying for half of it. I think that would be a great place to start. Any further comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to information items. 13.01. Take it away, Mr. McCosker.
13.01 discuss the remembrance of previous school board members. I noticed the bare walls in this chamber. I noticed the halls outside of this chamber are starting to be filled with different pictures of board members and SEA representatives or the education representatives. So, but the long story short is this body is an elected body. It's an important body. It's a hardworking body that has over 100 meetings a year, and we spend a significant amount of time in the community working for the betterment of our students. And the school boards members that have served faithfully on this body should be recognized in perpetuity for their service, much like you see at the Board of Supervisors in their chambers. So, what I propose, if the board will support it, is that we go back and we get as many pictures as we can from previous board members. We'll have to have a little, we're going to have our left and right boundaries. Things like a faithful term of service is a minimum of 2 years and a day, or whatever we discuss. Something like that. And school board members who depart earlier than their 2 years of service for reasons beyond their control, such as death. Of course, they would be on the wall. And then other extenuating circumstances as the school board shall decide. So we'll have to kind of put our left and right boundaries on this. But I think this is the right thing to do for our past board members. And I could look forward for your support, hopefully in 2 weeks, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion or comment?
No, I just wanted to say that I agree with Mr. McCosker, which is why I was his second to get this onto the agenda. He's right. People give up their personal time, their personal family time, to come here and serve the community. We're no different than the Board of Supervisors. We give as much heart and soul and sweat as they do, and I think we take a couple bucks out and let's pay tribute to some of the people who have served on this dais for, put them up on those walls. Thanks.
Any other comments? Mr. Harris?
I'll say I support it too. I think it's a good thing. I'm wondering though if we might want to wait until our new director of strategic communication is just on board, just if she has any ideas or thoughts on how we can do an even better job. Because I think would you say, we have to develop some sort of rules anyway?
I think we should have loose, rules loosely around this issue, not to get, too legalistic, but, just.
Oh, yeah.
But just,
Well, we have them for naming schools. We have guidelines,
Yep.
so we should have some guidelines.
So
I think you're right.
In the
Mr.
meantime,
Hirons,
I think
if
you're raising your hand, you're taking the task to develop the draft.
Yeah, I will. Yes, I will. You shake the cat up and you throw it back on your own back, right?
And
so that's good.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think more than 3 seconds of her time really would be needed.
So
you should do this or that.
I'll develop it and send it to the board members and to the staff.
Yep.
And going forward, it's certainly something we can approve with the, not tonight, but with the caveat that we will be developing that. And I would like to thank our clerk for looking into what it would take to get prior pictures. She did go get all the pricing for that for us, so I appreciate it. Ms. Euring always getting us all the information that we need. All right. Moving on to 13.02. You all do not, I'm not going to read to you, of course, the background. You all are familiar with this. We had talked about, I know Ms. Kidby and I met as the group looking into governance. It was something very much covered in our efficiency study, that there are some areas that we can probably work together as a board, and organization and management and policy, I think, is something we've heard. And it just seems like this is the time. Ms. Kidby and I met, it was a couple weeks ago. It's been a long spring. And we just would be recommending the creation, as I do mention in there, a draft governance charter is there. That does not mean that's what it will exactly be, but that gave sort of some ideas. Because we will be working on our standing committees coming the end of the month, it seemed that this was a timely time to make this discussion as we all start looking at which committees we will want to be serving on in the next fiscal year. Ms. Kidby, did you have any additional comment? I
just
didn't want to take the whole.
That's fine. I want the board to know that as we look through this, we put together some basic guidelines that we might want to consider, certainly in a draft form for a charter. We looked to other organizations that are like us, part of our counties. We looked at them, and many of them do have, maybe they don't call it a governance committee, but they have a committee of sorts that handles these types of things. There's different names that are being given them. Some of them do actually say governance. And picked some key elements that we thought might be appropriate for us. So we didn't create this wheel. We kind of took bits and pieces from other wheels that had already been created and put it together. It's certainly a work in progress, and we invite the board to wordsmith as they would like, add, delete, and comment before we bring it back next meeting for action.
Madam Chair, initially when I had first heard about this, I scratched my head and was like, well, isn't that what we all do as a board? And then I became a little bit more familiar with details that all the committees get into, and we as 7 people can't get into those details together, especially not here on the dais. So I'm glad to see that we are implementing some of the recommendations that are made, whether it's the efficiency study or shared services or some of these other things that we've been looking at paying for to make our division more efficient and making us operate more efficiently. So I'm looking forward to this, and let me know if there's anything I can do, and I will be supporting this in 2 weeks.
Any other comments for now? All right, moving on to 13.03, receive for information key strategies developed for the new strategic planning framework. I'm going to say Dr. Benson, but that may be somebody else. I'm sorry.
No, it is.
Okay, good.
So the board approved the key metrics this evening, and the last part of our strategic work for the year is to identify key strategies. Staff has identified draft key strategies that we're sharing with you this evening for information. As we move forward, we will develop action plans to support these key strategies that are designed to move the needle in a positive direction for the metrics that we've identified. And so we'll bring these back to you all at the next meeting. But this is the last piece that we really need the board to kind of bless as we publish our strategic plan, get ready to kick off the start of the next school year. We are also, just as an information, we are looking at a cloud-based tool to help us monitor the progress of our strategic plan that I think will provide the board with a very dynamic look in real time throughout the course of the year as to what kind of progress we're making. Anybody else in the community that wants to view it. It will have a public-facing scorecard, so that folks will be able to see what kind of progress we're making. So we're almost done. The next part of it is to get it published and out with its own separate communication plan, which will follow our work as we wrap up our last meeting in June this month.
Are there any questions or comments on the work? And Dr. Benson, I know there's been a big team kind of involved in this throughout the division, correct?
Well, absolutely. From the early on in the school year, collecting information from various stakeholder groups to inform our what we value, vision, mission, and goals, to the board's identification of biennial priorities and how are we going to hold ourselves accountable, what are those metrics going to be, and now what are we going to do differently in order to improve in those areas.
Wonderful. Moving on to 13.04, approve potential cuts from FY 2017 budget for FY 16 execution to fund new teacher salary scale. I believe that this may be a little bit of the agenda item may potentially cover more than that because of some of the concerns that we raised in the work session.
Madam Chair, can you refresh your screen?
Oh, sorry.
Just to make sure that we're...
Am I the one that's, oops. I'm going to re-authenticate. Sorry. Is it all off?
I have on my 1304, Madam Chair, I have... Apologies. Madam Chair, on 1304, I have approved potential cuts from...
Okay.
Well, that's what I have as well.
13.04?
Yeah.
It was amended. Approved
Okay,
use of,
I'm going to refresh my screen as well.
yeah, it's approved use of 2016
Yes.
budgeted operating funds to encumber items included in the 2017 operating budget totaling $2 million and thereby reduce the 17 operating budgeted expenditures. That's what everybody
Yes.
should have.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Did you pull it up?
I was.
Got it up?
I re-authenticated.
I did too. I had
and
to
such.
restart.
Rebooted. Is there any discussion or presentation, Dr. Benson, any comment on this one, or would we like the board to, I mean, I believe we do need to discuss it.
I do think the board needs to discuss it. I'm refreshing my screen as well. So what we've included in the agenda item is the information that came out of the work session. The board amended our teacher pay scale to provide some additional increase, effectively landing on a scale that was midpoint between the approved and the adopted scale. In order to do that, there are additional costs the board will incur next year. We estimate that to be approximately $1.2 million. We also heard in the 3-on-3 meeting that there might be a potential to not have some monies reappropriated to us that we were counting on to balance our budget. So this item will help to reduce our expenditures for next year in the amount of just over $2 million. These are items that were planned to be purchased with FY17 funds, so they were in the adopted budget, the budget the board adopted. We are simply proposing at this point that the board use savings in this current fiscal year to purchase these items ahead of time in order to reduce those expenditures next year such that we can cover the additional $1.2 million in teacher salary and benefits, as well as a portion of the money that we had planned to be reappropriated to balance our budget that was a part of our original budget request.
And that amount was about 1.25, is that
Correct.
correct?
But we're not covering all of it
Right.
here.
But
And my recommendation to the board is that we come back at the last meeting in June with the kind of final push to where we are headed with available resources, and then see what other action the board might want to take at that time.
are there any?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
What's really important, what Dr. Benson just said, was that these are items that were within the FY17 budget that we're pulling out and paying with current year savings. One of the things we heard at the 3-on-3 meeting was criticism from our reappropriation of money, our savings, our then projected savings of for FY16 of, well, you just change priorities from what you presented to us in your budget. We're not changing priorities here. We are funding things that we said we were going to fund within the budget. We're just paying them in advance now with FY16 savings, so that our budget will work to accommodate for the error that was made and the salary increase that was made for the teacher scale. So I just want to make sure it's really important that folks understand that we are not changing priorities in any shape or form here.
Yes, Ms. Egan.
Just for the public's information, Scott, would you mind getting up and explaining why it is that we needed a contract so quickly? Why are we limited to summertime construction schedules, that kind of thing? Because there's been a little bit of criticism about, well, you hurrying up to do this because you're trying to be deceitful. And that's, from what I understand, it's not the case. We've got summertime projects that need to be done in the summertime. If you could just talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yes, ma'am. As it pertains to this list? And the materials and?
The prior list, initially.
Oh, the previous list, yes, ma'am. And so, if I recall, many of those were projects that needed to start very quickly as we approached the end of school. And so we had to mobilize, we had to get those contracts underway if we were going to do them this summer. And so obviously many of those projects are priority projects. There are critical infrastructure. They support different things from cooling towers to to asphalt repairs, to things of that nature. And so to get those approved and in the works sooner than later, obviously it helps staff manage these projects, get them prepared to start. Many of them started yesterday, right after graduation, as certain venues became available to us. And so, so absolutely, very important.
So why in the summer? Why can't we do this throughout
Because
the year?
obviously the schools are occupied with students, and it just makes it that much more cumbersome, not impossible, but extremely more difficult. It takes longer for those projects to be executed. It causes more disruption to not only the students and teaching and learning, but also to the community use of the schools. And so all of those things. So summertime, obviously the schools are empty, the teachers are gone, the students are gone, and we're able to manage those facilities better with an empty school and what have you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
To follow up, I think from the Stafford High School perspective, it's a heck of a lot easier to not have students to when we are laying asphalt and doing construction. So I know that was, I know we all understand that, but it's also important, and Chris may either nod or need to come up as well, is that these are FY16 funds, so the funds have to be encumbered by June 30th?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Any other comments? Oh, Ms. Kidby?
Yeah, I might just say that, again, for the general public, there may still be questions in people's minds of why are we having excess funds? I believe it's been said by more than one Board of Supervisors that this was anticipated. Again, we have to remember that our old budgeting process, which we no longer use, inflated our budget in certain areas. And we anticipated that we would have excess funds this year. The smart thing to do is exactly what we're doing. And it's freeing up money for next year for operational purposes by using those funds to be able to purchase things that we had planned to purchase next year. That will allow us to have the necessary funds next year where we won't have this excess because our budget has been put together a very different way. And we will have the operating money that we need to be able to do things like teacher salaries and other reoccurring expenses, because we're taking some of the planned 2017 one-time expenses and paying for them with anticipated excess funds from this year, anticipated not only by this board, by our superintendent, and also by the Board of Supervisors.
Just real quick, not just teacher salaries, the next on our list is bus drivers and paraprofessionals. Just wanted to put that out there.
And as we did learn, all of this is not just payroll and benefits. There was also with fuel and other savings that has been tracked as we've moved further towards the end of our fiscal year. Let's see, there has been a motion.
Madam Chair, I think we need a motion to move this to action.
Yeah, do we want this moved forward tonight, Chris? Yes. All right, I would move 1304 to action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move 13.04 to action. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I move to approve 1304.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, I believe 13.05 we've already talked about, or not talked about, but will be brought back at our meeting in 2 weeks.
Given the action that the board's already taken, we'll bring this back with whatever final adjustments might be possible in their last meeting in June.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 13.06, approve the Every Student Succeeds ESSA application, formerly known as No Child Left Behind, in Title I for Stafford County Public Schools in the amount of approximately $2,400,000. It's a little different. Any comments? Actually, I don't see who.
I do have a couple questions.
I think this is Dr. Quinn, I believe. Yes, Ms. Kidby. I have some too.
Madam Chairman and school board members, Dr. Benson. I do have a little overview, if you don't mind. If I
Go ahead.
promise you it'll be
Great.
real quick.
Okay.
So let's rewind back to 1965, long before any of you were born. At that time, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act was passed, and it represented a commitment by the federal government to help school districts all across the country to help children with high needs. Fast forward 37 years to 2002, we had No Child Left Behind under the second President Bush. And of course, with No Child Left Behind came additional funds, but also additional accountability, which we called AYP, and then AMO. And the positive aspect of No Child Left Behind was obviously the fact that it expected all children to meet those AYP and AMO targets in all schools. The flip side was that many excellent schools did not make AMO and AYP and carried that label. And also the other part of the flip side is that federal funding really wasn't adequate through those years. If we go back to 2002, in Stafford County, we had about 10% students who qualified for free and reduced lunch. 15 years later, we have close to 30% in Stafford County. And over that 15-year period, federal funds have been about $20 million. And that just really hasn't been enough to meet those expectations. So with the Every Student Succeeds Act, the new Secretary of Education, Dr. John King Jr., says that it will give us more flexibility. Instead of a singular focus just on math and literacy, he says that it's going to give us more flexibility to do things like creative thinking and critical thinking and communication and collaboration and citizenship. Focus on that and wellness. Sounds very familiar. Under the Every Student Succeeds Act, we know that testing will continue, is still required in grades 3 through 8 and also in high school. But no longer do we have to have these targets called AMO, and something happened. Okay, there you go. No longer do we have AMO or AYP, as I already mentioned. Also, under the Every Student Succeeds Act, we will also see they're giving us flexibility in the test. Instead of each of those tests, 3 through 8 and 11th grade, we also have the options, and I guess it's still to be determined in terms of being able to use AP tests and IB tests and benchmark assessments, local benchmark assessments in each district. But also each state will have to continue to publish a state report card that tracks and explains the progress of school districts in their testing and the progress of their students. So let's get a quick overview of some of the changes and the application that you have before you. For information tonight, first of all, let's talk about how we identified schools. If you remember last year, we identified 4 schools, the schools that were 40% and higher. And if you remember from last year, there was a break point where there was a gap between the 4th and 5th school of 3.5%. Well, this year we found that with our March free and reduced lunch totals, we only had 3 schools above 40%. We felt like to take the $1.9 million and share with the 3 schools would be better off, and more students would benefit by sharing with 7 schools. So we looked at the free and reduced lunch totals, and we saw a cluster of 4 more schools that were separated just by 1.9%. So we decided to cluster them together and add them to our schools that are identified as Title I. So now we have 7, and then the next school beyond those 7 was 3 percentage points different. So that was the rationale for identifying these 7 schools for receiving the title funds for 16-17. In terms of the resources that were identified that federal funding will provide for is 42.5 positions. 94% of the $2.4 million in Title I, II, and III would be dedicated to positions. In the past, that's been closer to 82%. And about 1,000 more students who are economically disadvantaged who qualify for free and reduced lunch, and those 3 additional schools will benefit from this funding and this support. Well, what is the impact on student success, and how do we support them and the Every Student Succeeds Act funding? 18.5 additional funded professional teaching positions, 18.5 additional paraprofessional teacher aide positions to support small group learning. This is what the principals ranked as a priority and a needs assessment. And then also an additional position called Title I, II, and III specialists as part of the reorg to provide professional development support and also to ensure compliance. So when we look at the Every Student Succeeds Act, all of these pieces fit together to really support our vision of empowering and inspiring all students to succeed and thrive, or all learners to thrive. Any questions?
Madam Chair, just very quickly, so what was the school with 33.8%? Was that Ferry Farm Elementary?
It is, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Are there any questions?
Yeah,
Ms. Kidby?
I had a couple. If we look at straight percentages, I can understand why we would include all 7. But if you look at the Hampton Oaks Elementary School, for example, and they are about 61% free and reduced right now, that represents over 500 students at just that one school. And then you look at, for example, Falmouth Elementary School that is on that list at slightly over 30%, about 37%.
Mm-hmm.
That represents under 200 students. So my question is allocation of resources in terms of personnel. Could you share with us the vision of how you're going to allocate resources in terms of the personnel in relation to how these statistics play out in terms of number of students?
Yes, Ms. Kibbe, we're required, and there's a formula like a spreadsheet that you put in. They tell you exactly what the range is, and you have some standard error there of, some range there, but because Hampton Oaks has more, and you do, obviously you have a percentage, but also you have a count of individual children, and they receive funding based on that additional amount. So they, I don't have the number right at my fingertips, but they receive.
There's a rubric of some kind.
If you looked at the comparison, we do have a chart of the positions they have compared to the last school. It's equitable, and on that scale that
and I would imagine that the other thing that plays into that has to do with where they are, whether they're level 1, 2, or 3. That would affect how resources are allocated, human resources are allocated.
Support for ESOL students. Sure.
The other, if I may, I had another question. I noticed for last year and the year before that, our funding leveled out at around $2 million, and this year it went up significantly by $400,000. Is that attributed to the new program, or is that attributed to increased number of students that have a need in Stafford County?
Well, see, the state gets the funding from the federal government based on the number of free and reduced lunch all across the state, and then the state allocates that proportionally based on the free and reduced lunch in each district, in each division. So we are actually anticipating and really won't know the number. See, the 2.4 is really what we were awarded this year, and we're required to build a plan based on that, but we're anticipating.
So we're always a year behind, because I looked at the last couple years.
I can't say exactly what it would be, but we're anticipating more than 2.4. And once that happens, then that will affect our budget as well, and we make amendments, and you go through a process of doing that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Healy.
Dr. Quinn, in the past 2 years, we've gone from having a higher number of Title I schools to a lower number of Title I schools. Now we're back to a higher number of schools. And my understanding of the rationale last year in limiting the number of schools was that the resources were spread too thin, and we didn't have the benefit that we would have had by having more resources. So are we not just thinning out the resources that are being made available to the schools by increasing this number? I'm just trying to understand, because, you know, one year we want more. The next year we said, well, didn't work as well as we thought, or we think it would work better if we have less, and now we're back to more. So have we done an evaluation and determined that it is better, in fact, to spread these resources out, you know, among a larger number of schools than to concentrate them in a smaller number of schools?
Well, there's costs and benefits in both ways, and we made the argument last year to identify 4 schools, and we learned some things from that this year. In terms of the overall process of evaluation, that's still in process. But we did talk to the 7 schools, and one of the data points that I really wanted to emphasize in there is that the principals and the teachers in their needs assessment, they said, compared to previous years where we were putting a sizable amount of materials in conferences, they said, give us people, you know, give us paraprofessionals that will help us with small group instruction. So that's different than what we've done in the past too. So we want to evaluate that, but as well this coming year. But again, we're anticipating more funds. So if we went to, you know, we've gone from like 1.8 million to 1.9, we may be higher than that. To allocate that to just three schools is what we were faced with. If we use the same metric that we used last year, we felt like that would be an excess. And also we consider the fact that 1,000 more students would, if we identified 7 schools, would benefit from the federal funding, and we thought that would be exciting to think about.
I'm not suggesting that there's a right answer. I'm just trying to understand how we can go from large to small, back to large, or even we're probably at the largest here. So I would be interested in getting an evaluation this time next year as to how how that resulted in sharing those resources among the schools, because my personal opinion is that it doesn't just benefit the free and reduced lunch students, it benefits the whole school. I mean, if you have the additional resources in the school, then that's going to help, you know, every child. Because I've talked to parents with, you know, students in some of these extremely high free and reduced population schools, and I've said, well, your schools get extra resources, and they recognize that, you know, whether their children need it or don't need it, you know, whether they're eligible for free and reduced, they recognize that the resources are available in the schools, and that benefits everyone. I mean, they may not get pulled out for individual instruction, but if you have more resources in the classroom, then, you know, that's just not going to, you know, benefit a particular population. So I would like to see, and, you know, and perhaps, you know, sometime over the summer or next year, but just the evaluation of the difference between, you know, having it concentrated versus spreading it out, and then, you know, see what happens next year, because, you know, $2 million is a significant amount of money, and, well, 2.4, we don't even know what it's going to be. But I want to make sure that we are, you know, using it to the best advantage of the, you know, the students in Stafford County. So,
those
thank
are good
you.
questions, and those are ones I'm interested in too. And I know Dr. Benson, we've had that conversation as well.
Just to dovetail off that, Dr. Quinn. So yeah, no, that's exactly right. So I know that, you know, this is our big chunk of federal money. I think. I mean, I know we may get 68,000 for something, right, Dr. Clark? I mean, this is our big chunk of federal money, and it's based on free and reduced number.
That's right.
So, you know, I would be interested to go one step further on the analysis. Is, you know, is the free and reduced really equating to? So, as if it's 60% free and reduced, are those same kids getting poor grades or good grades, or, you know, so what's the actual grading of, you know, it's always been assumed that the free and reduced lunch children don't do as well, need more help.
And more resources.
And more resources. But is that true? Do we even?
I believe it
as
is.
a curriculum. Well,
Yeah.
do you have data
I know you
to
want to see some data.
Do you have data to support that?
Mhm.
And I know it's hard saying, well, they've already had the resources, but what about the schools that didn't have it last? So the four schools that didn't have it last, did they do more poorly on the exam? So.
Right. Well, there's a clearinghouse of research conducted by the federal government that substantiates that in schools with high poverty, they need the resources, and it really makes a difference. It gives them a shot in the arm that really supports their learning.
I guess following on, I would ask this to Dr. Quinn or even Dr. Benson. Isn't that part of some of our metrics going forward with our strategic plan about some of our gap
Absolutely.
areas?
And performance on the SOL test as a measure. And so we get an opportunity to take a look at how our actions are impacting student performance within the division by school.
Which I think is another one of the positives about our strategic plan. I will be supporting this in this manner. As many of you know, I have probably spent much of this year regretting my decision on the decision last year to allow the schools to be a smaller number. I believe that we have a lot of need in the schools, and when there's a solid break, I'm very excited to hear that we are going to invest it in people and not just books and things like that. I believe that the best way that not just the students that potentially get us these funds, the whole school can benefit by having smaller classrooms, smaller pull-out areas, smaller. And I know for a fact I represent 2 schools that did not have that additional help this year, and I can tell you it would have been nice to have those funds again, and it's a very large school, so it does represent a large number of kids. So I will be saying right now, I know I will be supporting coming forward, but I very much like that these metrics are now included in our agenda item that tagged to our strategic plan. Sorry. Mr. Hirons, did you have a comment? Oh, no.
And just quickly to kind of piggyback on all of these comments, the 2 schools that have the highest free and reduced, which are Hampton Oaks and Kate Waller Barrett, are exceptional schools in terms of student performance. And I think it's attributed, maybe not totally, but certainly in part, to the resources that are made available to those students. They are absolutely exceptional schools, and those kids do amazing things. And our educators in those 2 schools do amazing things, as does North Stafford High School.
Any further discussion? Yes? No?
No, I have a question about the agenda.
Okay.
If we're done with that item. I'm wondering if we could take up 1310 and 1311 next. And they're somewhat related, but they're both being represented by Mr. Sly, who this is his last meeting, and we're keeping him up very, very late.
Well,
So,
he's not coming back for the last meeting of the year?
out of his years of service, I think it would be appropriate to give him a few minutes
to get out.
I think we ought to give him 10 cents.
So if we could do that, I don't think that.
Is there board agreement? Okay, let's move to 13, 10, and 11. Mr. Sly, you wanted to have another opportunity to see us.
I apologize. We probably should have recognized that a little bit earlier. And we do appreciate your years of service. And as I told you, I thought the children were going to start, but I think your successor may be ready to take the reins. Impressive fellow.
I was glad he was here tonight, and I think you've made a good choice.
Thank you.
So, do we have questions about this? These 2 agenda items are, one is for an award of dairy services, milk for next year in anticipation of about a $700,000 milk bill. We had one bidder on that, and we're convinced these folks do great work. Second agenda item was a 10-cent increase in the meal price, and that's tied into a meal equity portion of the federal government's requirement to match their cost for their estimated cost or their approved cost for a meal. So we're raising our lunch price based on a formula that we plug our participation into each year. And I anticipate next year you'll see another nickel, maybe a dime, depending upon how that works out. We were a little behind the curve this year, probably should have gone up a dime versus a nickel, but this dime will set us in good pace for this school year, and we'll meet the equation and the recommendation they have.
Are there any questions on either of these two items? Ms. Kidby?
I did have one on 1311. I looked back last year and the year before to try and find a like contract for juice and milk, and I couldn't find one. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right spot because I was trying to compare the cost to see if the cost had gone up significantly. So I'm going to ask you, is this equivalent to what we've been paying this year?
Yes, ma'am, it is. The biggest difference in milk really boils down to the length of the school year. See, we'll have a 167-day school year, and then we'll have a 178-day school year. So that would really be the biggest impact. The milk contract actually is one of the best we have, simply because it's tied into a independent monthly milk market that we get justification for price increases. This has a fluctuation clause in it, so it will vary month to month by a few quarter of a percent or half a penny here and there throughout the school year. So it really is one of the best, the most accountable ones we have. The vendor pool is not large, but they are substantial as far as servicing multiple school systems, and it is basically tied into how many days we feed. Really is. So you may see huge differences in how much we spend in milk, and it would be, again, how many days we feed.
So this is an estimate. It's got to be an estimate.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
I just want to thank you for everything you've done for our schools, for our cafeterias, for the students. You've done so much for the county over all these years, and your shoes will be hard to fill. But
Well, thank you.
We have high hopes. I'm glad to hear good reports.
Yeah, it's
on
it's
your
been a pleasure.
successor.
I've grown old in this position. I've watched the county grow up and grow larger, and I have some too. So it has been it's been a pleasure, and and I've been blessed to have this job. So my contributions have been it's been a pleasure, and I've made a number of friends and a marvelous work staff that are dedicated to what we do, and it's feed children. So. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I'm not sure if all the people here know how much the cafeteria provides for our schools. A lot of times, if we need improvements in our kitchens, Mr. Sly has contributed to those. Capital items that would have had to come from the operating budget, but through his good management and resourceful use of what comes in, he has helped tremendously this school system, and also I know he's done a wonderful job with the staff. I don't think anybody knows any of the I'll call them cafeteria ladies. I know we have some cafeteria men as well, who are there. I mean, you never go in without seeing a smile on somebody's face, and they know the students' names, they know their numbers, or whatever, and they really do the best they can to have that menu be attractive to the students. So I know I'll miss you. I'll also miss you on our student health, what is our committee called? Student Health Advisory Committee? SEAC? I don't know what the name is, but he brings us snacks, which has been great, and they're always healthy. But thank you. Thank you, really.
Yes, I had a great opportunity to chat last evening, so thank you so much. Moving on to 1307, let's go back and go through our contracts. Approve the award of a service contract to Train USA regarding the division's HVAC chiller maintenance plan. Any questions? Probably from Mr. Horan. All right, moving on to 1308. Approve the use of consulting services from PM2 Professional Materials Management in support of the warehouse and parts operations. Any questions?
Yeah, I had one. Let me review what I wrote here. It's been a while ago that I wrote this. This is one one of the questions I had is, why is this coming to us kind of late in the year? I would think that we would, if we knew that this was required, why did we wait so long? Because now we're kind of stuck with having to get it done right away.
Yes, ma'am. I think we as a team felt when we were preparing this, that or originally planning to award this, that it was just $14,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, why are we even seeing this?
Well, what happened is we felt to be fully transparent because it was a consultant, and the board several years ago had said we'd like to see. Now, traditionally, most of the consultants that I work with, the A&E and the design professionals, we haven't brought those forward to you unless they exceeded the authority of the superintendent. So that's why this one. We just wanted to err on the conservative side and ensure that you were aware of it.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at that dollar amount and I thought, Bruce can just sign this thing. So,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, all right, thanks.
And these are FY16 dollars. So if the board feels compelled to move this to action, certainly staff would not stand in your way.
I don't have any problem moving it to action. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move, 13.08 to action.
Is there a second? Okay. It's been moved and seconded to move 1308 to action. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a follow-on motion?
Move for approval 1308.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 13.09, approve the award of a contract to Painter Touch in support of the division's interior-exterior painting program. Any questions? Probably for Mr. Haran again? No? Yes?
Can we just get a quick synopsis of the contract? It says contract with Fairfax County. Is it one of those?
It's a multi-year contract with Fairfax County that we are riding. We've ridden this contract, I believe, at least the last 3 years with Painter's Touch. If you recall, about 4 years ago, through attrition, we lost some of our painters' workforce. And we never filled those positions. So we started to rely much heavier on contract painting. And so instead of a supplement, it became really a mainstay for our school painting over the summer program through a contract versus we used to have 3 painters in-house and now we just have 1. So, so this contract over time has increased in size. And so we've felt it very flexible and accommodating to use these current contracts that other school divisions and county governments have.
And we just shared off of them?
Yes, sir, through the council of government.
We didn't do anything along the lines like we did with that copier contract?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
Okay, any further discussion? All right. Moving on to 1312. This is regarding let me make sure it hasn't been, approve the proposed revisions to Regulation 2401 Code of Conduct, also known or mostly talked about as the cell phone policy. That, I believe, is that Mr. Mr. Nelson or Mr. Nichols, or I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm got my charts up.
Madam Chairman, school board members, Dr. Benson, Stafford County Public Schools are at an exciting time in education, teaching, and learning. Tonight we bring to you the revisions to the Code of Conduct and specifically identified with the cell phone policy. Currently in Stafford County Public Schools, we're on track to exploring, and I have been exploring this year, the collaborative project, which is looking at our basis needs for communicating collaboratively using technology. And they've enhanced and adapted the Google and looking at Google Educators to help us with our teaching and learning. Moving forward, that also provides the opportunity for students, not only for staff, but for students to have the opportunity to communicate using technology, thus using their devices, whether it be a cell phone, a laptop, an iPad, mini iPad, whatever that electronic device may be. With that, it also brings in mind that the focus on C5W and having a device. A lot of times this is the only device that students have. They may not have computers, because our schools are very diverse. We have some with and some without, but a lot of students have devices. Allowing them to use them within our school provides them an opportunity to collaborate. Through pilot studies on using email in some of our schools, we found that the participation in activities and being informed on different things has improved. I had a parent come up to me a week ago and tell me that without her son having a cell phone during the day, she would have had to miss and take off time from work, but during this rainy season, the coach was able to email the students through Remind 101, which is a remind application that the students would get, and then he was able to go ahead and text her between class to let her know that, hey, the lacrosse game has been canceled. Thus, she did not have to miss, time and pay from her job because she would leave DC early enough to get down here for the 5:30 JV games. It provides also the opportunity to, with our C5W, with citizenship. We look at digital citizenship. That's one thing that we do. Not only are we teaching math, writing, and arithmetic, but we're also teaching the norms for students' behavior and looking at how they adapt within society. Part of that is teaching digital literacy, where we can go with etiquette and help our students to understand the proper use, when to use phones, when to not. We have a code, and two options are being provided that students that violate this code, there are consequences, and they need to be held accountable for those consequences. So I urge you, as you look at this, we're here to answer any questions that you have. But again, as we continue to expand and grow in the use of technology, the collaboration tools of our devices, having students not only collaborate within the classroom, but beyond the walls with our BYOD, able to communicate with real-time sources versus just looking it up in an encyclopedia or going online but Googling, but actually talking with somebody who's in the field. Those are the possibilities that we have with collaborating with others and also communicating, and the critical thinking and creativity that they have using their devices, using technology. We need to empower our students and embrace our students to be good digital citizens. And so I'm here to help answer any questions that you may have, along with Mr. Nelson.
Sure.
Hi.
Yes.
I've not made any secret about how I feel about the cell phone policy. And something that you had said kind of leads me to ask this question, talking about how kids use phones responsibly and whatnot. I have seen the fight videos. I have seen the things that are being perpetrated on cell phones, which end up in the schools, which is violence. Do we have anything in place at the school level that, aside from teachers having to take time out of their day to say, that's not an appropriate use of the cell phone, put it away, is there anything that we're doing to promote responsible use of the cell phones? Do we have any type of classes? Are we spending time during homeroom to, phone etiquette and things like that? I haven't heard of any of it.
We came out this year at the beginning of the school year through our Stafford Leadership Academy, where they came out with the Digital Citizenship Program. And our ITRTs in each of the building were tasked with providing opportunities to help students understand the digital etiquette, if you would. And we've used a lot of things as posters, pause before you post, the anti-bullying things. So we've developed curriculum. They were continuing throughout this year trying to put small units together that they can show at freshman orientations, where they can show in homerooms. But they've been working on that currently, trying to put that in and able to present it in short clippets of videos and things like that to help educate our students.
Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hirons.
I appreciate everything you presented, and we're heading in the right direction in all of that, and that's why, I don't think we'll ever get to the point of going backwards where we're banning cell phones across the board in our schools. And obviously there were members, including myself, on this board that have a lot of concern about the use of cell phones, the abuse of use of cell phones in our schools, in particular using them when the teachers have not given permission within the classroom, or using them in the hallways and using them somewhat inappropriately. So I asked for a couple things to be added to this, and one of the things was to enable building administrators to take away a student's privilege of using a electronic device or a cell phone within the schools, and I think that's within option two here, and that's what I support in this. I do appreciate, we've had a lot of discussion about various punishments and such, and frankly, especially the folks that abuse their use, I'm not sure the students have as much appreciation for the threat of a suspension as they do of losing their cell phone privileges. And my goal there is to try to give teachers a little bit of hope and a little bit of power. And I do apologize for my comments either last year or 2 years ago where I did offend building administrators, and that wasn't my intent. And I think the building administrators, though, have been doing a much better job of hearing the problems and hearing the issues and addressing them. I've also asked for signs to be posted throughout the building with the rules of cell phone use, essentially the rules that the students sign off on. As I understand, Colonial Forge has been doing this for at least the last year, if not the last couple of years, and the statistics that we received kind of show that probably had some benefit, because I believe Colonial Forge was the school with the lowest number of violations in the attachment within our agenda item here. So I think that can be a positive thing, and that's also goes to educating the students on and reminding them. And I think the building administrators, though, have been doing a much better job of hearing the problems and hearing the issues and addressing them. I've also asked for signs to be posted throughout the building with the rules of cell phone use, essentially the rules that the students sign off on. As I understand, Colonial Forge has been doing this for at least the last year, if not the last couple of years, and the statistics that we received kind of show that probably had some benefit, because I believe Colonial Forge was the school with the lowest number of violations in the attachment within our agenda item here. So I think that can be a positive thing, and that's also goes to educating the students on and reminding them, what you sign off on, it has some real consequences, and it reminds them of what those rules are on a constant basis. The other thing I do see in here as well is, my preference is they're free to use them before school, after school, in the classroom when the teacher gives them explicit permission. I am not a fan of them using them in the hallways. Even my own son tells me, I got run over again today by some kid who was staring at his cell phone, walking down the hallway. But I do want to give the building administrators the opportunity and the ability to designate areas where students can use their cell phones even during class changes, especially with our newer buildings and some of the fixes that we're doing with our buildings, where we are creating these collaboration spaces. Stafford High School has some great spaces underneath stairwells and down hallways that really is a good place for students to be able to collaborate with their technology. And I don't have a problem with that if building administrators designate areas of you can use your cell phone here even between classes. But my preference would be that we do limit their use as much as possible in the hallways, essentially, and before school, after school, during lunch. I don't have a problem. I would like building administrators to have a little bit of flexibility, but really keep it limited on the use outside of those times. And for the teachers, I do want to ensure that they have some ability and hope in that these rules will have some actual effect. And again, threatening a student's use of a cell phone is probably the most effective. I know we want to stay away from confiscation of cell phones. That just raises our liability and risk, et cetera. So saying a student you can't use a cell phone anymore for the remainder of the school year is going to be a pretty big threat, I think. So I do appreciate both yours and Daryl's work on this. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think that we can get some support on this.
Sure. No, thanks a lot. It's no surprise that I've never supported cell phones in our schools over the years, because the professionals in the classroom, our teachers, said it would be a bad idea. This sentiment was verified with a county survey, otherwise known as data, that out of approximately 574 respondents, the overwhelming majority felt that cell phones were a bad idea in school. The overwhelming majority were also teachers. Cell phones in the hallway and during school, was not a smart move, and it isn't now. I'm hearing reports that our police, our RSOs in school, spend the majority of their time taking care of cell phone-related issues. Penalties such as taking away cell phones for the school year, as was mentioned, backing up our teachers who need support, help addressing this issue, I think is ongoing, but we may want to solidify some more things helping that out, and other innovative ideas such as signs, etc., may be a good idea. Phones before school, after school are appropriate. Lunch is I'll need some more data before I make my decision on whether lunch is a smart idea, but it is a halfway point. I fully realize that the student or the school administration spends a great deal of time and effort policing up this issue, if you will, and I do understand that this issue is not going away. Cell phones are here to stay. However, we do need to make sure that we identify and we put forth our priority of teaching kids, and we should do whatever is best to make sure that we are teaching kids. BYOD and cell phone use in the hallways, et cetera, is not the same thing. BYOD, many school divisions buy laptops for their kids. They buy notebooks for their kids. They buy Kindles for their kids. So we have a ways to go on this, and I'll just need a little bit more data about this lunchtime. This second option, I've read through it. It reads okay. However, I think we could do some more work about some of the things I've mentioned. Thank you.
Any other comment? Ms. Kidby? Or, yep.
As I was reading through it, I was a little confused. It identifies, I believe this is option 2. Yeah, it identifies, it says, building administrators may designate specifically defined areas for cell phone usage during the day as long as the area is clearly defined. I don't know why we just didn't stop there. Oh, and students limit the use to that area. That's okay. Why are we as a board identifying a specific area when we tell the administrators that they can define the specific area? I'm confused by that, because it says building administrators may designate specific defined areas for cell phone use during the day as long as the area is clearly defined and students limit use to that area. Now we're saying except that we insist that they not be used in the hallways. I'm not quite sure why we're doing that, because we're not then allowing the administrators to designate specifically defined areas. I'm just a little confused by that.
Do you want me to answer that?
Somebody can respond to it, right?
Yeah, sure, I'll answer. But from what many of the education professionals, as you all know, they've came to us and they've said there's a few issues with the cell phones in the school, and here's the list. But one of them, I think, was the hallways, was the students kind of, all looking down at their cell phones, being late to class, finishing up conversations while entering rooms. So here is kind of, this seems to be saying, hey, administrators, you can designate an area maybe that you want your the kids to use the cell phone and call their mom or dad, or if they have a hot issue like Mr. Nichols said. However, the hallways is not going to be that place that you're going to designate. So that's how I read it, and I'm not for it or against it, but
that's okay.
So,
okay.
I agree with Mrs. Kidby. I think we either trust our administrators to
we don't,
designate the
yeah.
spaces or we don't. And I don't see why we would tie their hands. One concern I would have, though, and this will probably fall on you, Mr. Nichols, is to make sure that we don't have a big disparity among the schools. Before we had the student dress code, we would have all kinds of different interpretations. So what we don't want to have is one school here, has an area that's completely different from a school in another part of the county. And the way our students, go from school to school based on programs, it could be somewhat confusing. I mean, I could see a student that's in one school, for half a day and another school the other half, and they have two completely different areas, and just say, oh my gosh, I forgot, I was studying late last night or, whatever. So, I want to let the administrators make those decisions. I don't want to say except for something, because what do I know? Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here, but I'm not in that school. I mean, that's their job. Now, they should be taking into consideration what the teachers are saying, and that is confusing to me, because if we're hearing, we are hearing that a lot of teachers have concerns about the use of the phones, but we have a committee that has every principal on it saying it's working. So while I respect the opinion, of teachers, I don't know if it's every teacher or just the ones that are coming to us or where that all is. I have to rely on the administrators, to a great extent. So that was my question before. We've had this trial, for a couple years, and I don't recall ever getting a report on how it was going. I know we'd asked, not you, this isn't on you, you've only been here, a couple weeks, but, we've talked about getting a report, and we've talked about, specifically, I'd asked for that before this came back for, a final vote, because to me, there's a big difference between going from a trial, or whatever we call it, to permanent, even though it could be changed every year. So I get that the committee, which is every high school and every middle school principal, correct? Mm-hmm. Among others, were there teachers on that committee as well?
There was not.
No teachers on that committee? Well, I would hope that the principals are taking into consideration, what their teachers are saying in the school. That's correct?
That's what I did, ma'am, yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I would think. So I don't like tying their hands. We're either going to trust them to do it or not.
That was my point exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just have one more question. I'm just going to throw another little wrinkle in. I'm sorry, Mr. Nichols. Aside from the school and aside from all that other stuff, I have gotten a couple of emails over the past couple days about bus drivers having some serious concerns and problems on the school buses. And has the committee looked at that? And do we know what is the problem? What is happening, and what can we do to help the bus drivers get our kids back and forth to school safely without having that be an issue for them too while they're driving?
It's currently in the policy. It's in the first part of the current policy we have, that it's forbidden unless authorized by staff on their bus. So
when you say staff, you mean the bus driver?
Bus driver, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so she or he have the power to say,
That's how we've interpreted
and they can
it,
be
yes.
Written up or referred or even kicked off the bus for,
Yes.
as a consequence. Okay, thank
Whatever
you.
that consequence may be, warning to a maximum of.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Hirons.
Madam Chair, the one piece of data we did receive was Exhibit E within the agenda item. And actually, it confused me a little bit, and because it really didn't tell a very good story of whether our pilot worked or not. And I'm looking at Stafford High School in particular here, and it shows the number of violations by year. 2013-14, they had 163 total violations. 14-15, it dropped to 41. 15-16, it jumped back up to 162. I don't get it. Well, why is that? I know that's that one school. Maybe there's something with the data that was screwy, but do you have any idea? Just happen to have seen it before.
My interpretation of that is that with all the schools across that they jumped this past year, I think the added effort of the consequence based on coming out of the first year pilot and then actually emphasizing the second year pilot is that we really went back and said we will enforce this consistently across the board and come back through, and if the students cross the door with a cell phone, then the teacher writes them up. The first time's a warning, second time would be an automatic suspension at that time. And so I know that's where the administrators from
and it's
our
a little different
collaborations.
at Brook Point. It was 213, 14, 117, 14, 15. Then it dropped this year, 142. So, you know, I guess the point I'm ended up making is this data doesn't really tell us much of a story, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if there's a reason why. You know, but the biggest thing that showed me was Colonial Forge climbed 46, 75, and then 102 this year. But again, I do attribute their lower numbers possibly because the students are much more aware there, as I understand, of the rules, because they do have signage and they remind them. I had a teacher tell me she doesn't teach at that school regularly, but she did teach a summer school class, and she had a couple of Colonial Forge kids, and she asked about cell phone usage, and they said, "Oh yeah, we know the rules." And then Mountain View just has low numbers all around, so there's something going right at Mountain View. I'm sorry, I don't see North real quick, but I'm sure North is doing well as well. North actually, yes, did very well. So, you know, you guys are doing something right. And how much collaboration is going on with the administrators, in particular, like the high school administrators, not only at the principal level, but the AP level and the counselor level, that, you know, the things that are working, is that being fed out to all of the schools so we can get those things to work. And then just before I wrap up here, the point of my intent of enabling administrators to designate areas is to give them some flexibility in being able to do that within that school. But if we, you know, if it's not on us, then my favor would be to say, all right, fine, then you can't use them in hallways, you know, before school, after school, and at lunch within the cafeteria.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to, Ms. Ayers, you're okay before I go, or would you like to say something? Okay, you're in the receive mode still. So I just want a fair and balanced, as an executive council, as the board, we want a fair and balanced data to come back to us. That's what senior leaders do. We take the data, we synthesize it, and then we make the decision that we're paid for to make. So, you know, my thing was, why didn't we poll the teachers again and this is not, I'm looking you in the eye when I'm saying this, but, you know, so why didn't that data from the teachers come back to us? And so at least, at a minimum, it's a fair and balanced decision for the senior leaders on this board. The teachers think this of cell phones. Your committee, made up of all principals, as you've stated, you think this of cell phones, and that's okay. And maybe the bus drivers think this of cell phones, and that's okay. So all I ask for as a senior leader in the organization is for the folks to give me the correct data and a fair and balanced look at the data. And then we'll make the decision, and then we'll make the vote, and if you have 4 votes going for whatever, then it's all done. So that is a little bit of my concern, you know, in addition to the things I've mentioned earlier.
All right, I would like to just note with regard to the option 2, it does also encompass, you know, these watches and wearable devices. I certainly understand, Mr. Nichols, we think of it as a cell phone. Okay, I'm still old school. I have a real, you know, cell phone. No, I have gotten beyond that. I have. But now all these devices, things are getting smaller. Things are, that is of concern, that we do need to make sure that we are really staying up and on target with this. I think that the addition in the cheating and the photography area, that it's you use it, you lose it. I mean, you do something, you lose it. I really fully support that, because I think we do need to be teaching and modeling how to use these devices. As we move into the email and allowing that, until we have a policy or the funding to be able to provide devices, I think that we need to be looking at this. I do support a lot of the option 2. I will be upfront. I will want to think over the comments of Ms. Healy, Ms. Kidby, of how the hallway, whether we allow that to be with the administrator to make that sole decision of whether that works in their school or not. So I'm not going to opine yet. I want to think through that and maybe perhaps get any additional information. Are there any additional pieces of information that we would like prior to voting on this in 2 weeks? Is there? And let's try and tell Mr. Nichols now. I believe.
Well, my comments indicated that I would like a survey done of the teachers. I want the teachers. Why are we as a board making a decision without the teachers' input?
Can that be done here within
It could be done before September. It could be done before September school starts.
The code of conduct has to be printed over the summer, correct, Daryl?
We can put an addendum in it.
Well,
Print it with
that
an
makes it a
well, I
lot
mean, we're
more
just
complicated. And they have to know if they are going to be establishing areas in the school, I think they need, time to set that forward.
Well, it seems that the board's kind of leaning towards, it's basically back to the normal if you add the hallways in, or add, because if the principal just says, hey, you can have it in the hallways, it's really no change, right? Okay.
But
I request that the teachers, we get input from the teachers via the same Survey Monkey, and move forward with a decision from that. I think last time it took us how long? It wasn't 2 months for the survey. I'll have to figure out how long it took the survey to get out.
Yeah.
Teachers are literally on their way out the door.
Well, we still have.
And if we think you can, and maybe the SEA can help.
Well, yeah, if
encourage
it's a statistically significant response, I'm good with it, right? So should we all, if we know data.
Well, my concern is who's going to respond? People are literally on the way out the door. So even though the teachers are here a couple more days, and I guess I'm somewhat old-fashioned. I generally question surveys because I don't know who's going to respond, people that have concerns, most likely, especially if you're going to try to, do it as they're literally leaving for the summer. I'd like to get some information at the next meeting, some more information from the committee about how they came to this conclusion. Some of the rationale behind it, or the history, or maybe there's something that we don't know. I can't imagine that they lightly made this decision, because it is it's an important element in the schools, and I know I've had some discussions with some of the principals, but not all the principals. But again, I go back to if these are our administrators, and we're trusting them, and it is their responsibility to run the schools, and they are being held accountable for that. If we're not willing to accept their recommendations, then what criteria are we going to use, and how are we putting ourselves, our judgment, above the people that are there every day? I mean, you were there, now you're supervising all of them. And this is every one of our principals that were there. So I just like to, if at least we could hear, how they, what criteria they considered and how they came to it. Did they talk to their teachers? I can't imagine a principal making that decision in a vacuum. And if in fact that's the case, then, that would be a sad state of affairs. But if it's, could we get some more information about that? I mean, even if it's just a summary or a sheet, or you could, were you there? I don't know if you were in that position when they made that recommendation. Not tonight, it's so late tonight. But that would be important to me to know, because the fact that it was unanimous, to me, is significant. If there was, some disagreement or
Ms. Healy?
not.
I think, do you have some guidance there, Mr. Nichols, if you have any, not for comment tonight, but of anything to gather when speaking with the administrators? Okay, anything else? All right, we will close discussion on this. I have a suggestion for the board, as that it is about 5 of 11.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Dr. Benson has something he
Oh,
needs
I'm
to share.
sorry.
We have a complication, Madam Chair, and I apologize. There may be some language in that copier contract that could create a challenge for us. I will know better tomorrow. What I heard the board say is that they gave us permission to do a 1 year, and it may be an extension versus a new contract. We got to look at the language in the contract, okay? And I apologize, but I do not have that all together here this evening. We'll check on it tomorrow, and I will be in contact with
Would you
all.
like us just to revisit that item and
I may likely have
put
to
it
bring
on
it back
hold?
to you all anyway. So I just need to find out what flexibility we have. But what I heard was, and we can get the clerk to check the motion, is that
It was for what contract for 1 year with no extensions?
for 1 year with no extensions. And so
If it had to be an
I gotta look
extension
at-
of the current contract with a rebid
That's
process.
what I need to check on, okay? So there may not be a mechanism for us to enter into a new contract for 1 year. There may be a mechanism for us to extend for 1 year. I've got to
Do we
check on
need to
that.
go back and just put that whole thing on hold? I mean, it didn't have to be approved today. I guess we could wait until
We do need copier
the end of the month.
services, yeah.
July 1st,
Mr. Fulmer?
The biggest issue is
Right.
getting the new machines in. When we enter a new contract, we get all new copiers. These are at the end of their lifespan because at the end of the contract. So entering into the new 4-year contract makes it cost feasible for the vendor to provide all new machines. They're not going to provide us new machines for a single 1-year contract.
But it wasn't a 1-year contract, right? I mean, I understood it was a 1-year contract with a possibility for 3 1-year extensions.
No, that's where the miscommunication was. It was a 4-year contract.
That's
They
what
were,
I thought.
there was never an
Is that what was
option.
in there? I didn't read that in there.
It's in there. It's in there twice. There's information that says 4-year contract.
I'll have to go back and look at that, because that's not the way I wrote it.
And then, well, it's represented twice in the item. It also talks about a 1 year with an opportunity to extend 3. So
Contract has an initial period of 1 year effective on July 1st, 2016, with 3 additional annual renewal periods of 1 year. And annual renewal periods, that's not,
And in contract language, you can start out saying, you can call that a 4-year contract. However, it's a 4-year contract with 3 option years. That's effectively how you really would discuss
Not in this
it.
contract.
would that not be our option, though?
Not,
It's our
not
option.
this particular one. It's a 4-year contract. It was my mistake. I should have been more clearer on that. There are 3 additional years to it, but they're not option years. Okay, and so the cost was negotiated with 4 years in mind, and that cost fixed for each year.
I was reading this literally with 3
Right.
additional annual renewal periods.
And they are annual renewal
There's a big
periods,
difference between.
but they are not option years. So that was my mistake. That was a little misleading, wasn't clear to the board. So that's certainly my mistake.
So it was a $2.3 million contract rather than
With
the
an annual
588,000.
588, yes, ma'am, if you could look at that.
Wow, I'm sorry, I apologize, because you asked that question, and
Yeah.
I read
That was
renewable
my
as
mistake.
an option.
And I thought option year as well, so.
And that's what we talked about when this was up for bid before. When this came for information, I thought we talked about renewable, or I thought it was optional.
Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, I think we're going to
We need to
bring the item.
We need to.
again.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me give an idea. I have asked the board before we adjourn, which this evening we would be normally going into closed session. Is there a sense of the board that we would prefer to do that closed session item potentially next Tuesday? We could allow this particular agenda item to come on. It could be a meeting for that particular.
Special call meeting next Tuesday, is that what you're suggesting?
That would be, if we're going to be here and we would be doing that, I think we're all tired. I believe we would want to dedicate that.
Mr. Nelson, could you tell us what we need to do here since we approved this item and we need to unapprove it
Do we need
for
to-
tonight? Okay. May I make that motion, Madam Chairman? I make a motion to rescind the action previously taken with respect to action item number 12.02.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. If there is no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Time for next Tuesday, what would be the preferred starting time?
Early.
Like early, 6 or 5:30?
5:30.
9 a.m.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. McCosker, what
Yeah,
would
no,
you? 5:30? Okay, 5:30?
Oh, I really like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Scott didn't want me to come to the meeting, so he said 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right, so we will say that our next meeting will be June 21st, beginning at 5:30, a special called meeting, and the agenda item that was previously on this agenda will be moved to that agenda.
And I'd like to get information in advance of that meeting if it's available.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, all right. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.